in the business, when things that you say without really thinking about it before you start to speak. Is another example of verbal acne. I got to knock that shit down. I can't be doing that. Welcome to the Rant. Sounds unprofessional. I am Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday from the glorious Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful E-Galleries located in the fantastic Dallas Design District. We are Radio Misfits Dallas. RadioMisfits.com is where you can find our home base. What do we do here? Every day we get together around this time and we talk about the day. We talk about the news, the trends, the headlines, whatever it is they're screaming about. We talk about pop culture. We talk about movies. We talk about entertainment. Oh, we cover it all. The goal of this show is to give you something that you don't get on talk radio. I did talk radio for decades, and I can't do it anymore because I won't talk politics and I won't talk sports. That's it. Now, look, I can talk politics, as those who've been watching for 3 years know. Well, I can throw down with some politics. Don't want to. Don't want that to be the only thing I have to talk about. I like to talk about current events. I like to talk about things that have nothing to do with politics. And God forbid I be forced to talk about nothing but sports. However, you go out drinking with me, that's basically all we're going to talk about. So, I am a conundrum of a man, and I do this every day here. 3 years and counting we've been doing this. So thank you so much to all the people who, let's talk about those people. Let's go to the chat room. We got people coming into the chat room now. We've got, let's see here. We got Barney. Is Barney the first guy I see today? No, I'm sorry. Jimmy Smells. Jimmy Smells is the first guy I see in here today. But that's on my list, so that may not be right. We got Jimmy Smells, we got Jeff Ballard, we got Barney, we got Taronda, we got, who else? Is that it? Where's everybody at? Where are my Friday people? Come one, come all. This chat room in a good half hour is going to be popping off. I promise you that. I'm pushing today, folks. I'm pushing. I'm not feeling well. What is it, because it's only in the mid 90s now and not 110 that this severe drop in temperature has completely changed my body's ecosystem, for lack of a better term? I don't know. Last night, man, I started to get the chills really bad, and it's like 90 degrees out. Or no, it was a little cooler last night than it was in nights past. But the air conditioning's on. I started to get the chills, and I was sweating. I was both sweating and freezing, and I don't know. It was just a weird kind of thing. Woke up this morning. I just feel hungover, and I shouldn't feel hungover because I didn't have anything to drink last night. So I don't know what's going on. But we're gonna muscle through. We're gonna muscle through the show, and this is not allergy related. You people who tune into this show every day, I battle with my allergies, and those are coming. That's coming, but that won't hit again until probably October. October is going to be awful for me, just like April is awful for me. And sometimes November, you know what? These allergies when you live in Texas, yeah, they're the worst. How does the show play out? I'll tell you how the show plays out. Hi, Christina. What's happening, Sports Bras? Sports Bras sent me some new content. I haven't checked it out yet. I will check it out probably on a dog walk tonight, or during a car ride this weekend. But I love the Sports Bras. Check them out. They're fun. They're fun. I love this whole idea that unless you're associated with one of these formerly impressive brands, like a Ticket or a CBS Sports or whatever it is, that you somehow can't talk sports. Well, let me tell you something about professional sports broadcasters, because my friend, I know quite a few of them. I have dear friends who are extraordinarily successful in the world of sports talk radio. And guess what? They're all fucking frauds. Well, they're not frauds, but they're no better than you or their buddies who sit around and talk about the exact same things. They just decided to pursue it as a career, and now look at them. Now we consider them experts. Well, I'm here to tell you there are plenty of people out there where you can get your sports Jones satisfied that, aren't necessarily associated. There is raw talent out there, and let me just tell you, I think the Sports Bras, I like them. Got this kind of laid-back, countrified kind of. Yet. Here's the other thing. By the way, this would be considered an air check for my buddies, the Sports Bras. If I was a programmer, they won't let me program anymore. If I was a programmer, here's what I'd say. The appeal of your show is that there is a subtle is important, a subtle intellectualism to it. Yep, that's what I said. You know who Calvin Trillin is? It's got a Calvin Trillin vibe. Hold on, wait a second. I gotta make sure I used Calvin Trillin pop because there's another Calvin, and I get those names confused. There it is. Yeah, no, that's him. Calvin Trillin. I liked him. Also, the dude who wrote Forrest Gump is also very much like that. There is a subtle intellectualism to their folksy and almost, and I mean this in the best possible way, hillbilly delivery. Sports bras, they're fantastic. I'm enjoying everything I'm hearing from them. All right, what else do I need? By the way, week 1 of DLLS. DLLS. That's the All City offering here in Dallas. All City is a company that I've been watching for years now. I've been watching them move from city to city and take over the sports scene in those cities. DLLS, something was created by a kid named Brandon Spano, and I call him a kid because I think he's younger than me, although probably not all that much. Brandon Spano was like some dude who was a sales guy. He's like a really good sales guy. He could sell, baby. And he also likes sports. So he ended up doing a brokered sports radio show in Denver. Brokered is when you pay for the time. And I've been down that road. That is, unless you get good partners, unless the radio station is an honest partner, that is the worst fucking deal you can ever do. I've not been involved in a brokered situation with an honest broker. Actually, that's not true. Once I was, and that was very good. And point is this: DLLS, Brandon Spano, he brokered a radio show and he liked it, and then he decided, radio is kind of dying, and actual digital distribution of this kind of content on the local level is probably where it's going. And he started a thing there in Denver called DNVR, and it was the first of what is now the All City network. DNVR was just a bunch. Here's what he did. He got a little bit of money. That's the key. You need backing to do it right. You need backing. Got a little bit of money, although, he was a salesperson, so he knew, he could do all that stuff. So good for him. This is look, I appreciate his grind. As a matter of fact, I admire it. So this is not. So he gets some backing, and he goes and he hires a bunch of local Denver sports writers. Maybe he goes, here's what he did in Chicago, which drove some of my friends there in terrestrial radio nuts. When he expanded from Denver to Chicago with CHGO, he went after the people on the big sports radio stations who were not the superstars. He knew, he had this inherent knowledge that there was somebody on the number one morning show in Chicago, let's just say, and this is all just a fictional thing that I'm telling you, but this is what he did. He would go in and he would find the guy on the show who was fucking great, like just the third seat or whatever, who was really funny. And here's what he knew. He knew that dude was being paid dick. He knew that dude was not being paid in commensurate with what he contributes to the show. So he went and he raided all those dudes in Chicago. And now CHGO is just a bunch of really funny people who were being completely exploited by radio. And now they're even bigger personalities in the city than the guys who are making, whatever, X amount of dollars at the number one sports talker or the number two sports talker or the ESPN affiliate. So that's what he did. And that's what he's doing here. He's got Jeff Kavanaugh leading the Cowboy stuff, which is fucking brilliant. I'm a big fan of DLLS. That's what I'm calling it. Because I can't do L's. Here's a problem. I can't say L's. Ols. People make fun of me all the time. And it's not just because I'm a Chicagoan in Texas. It's not like an accent thing. No, in Chicago, they made fun of me for the, I have lazy, can't say L's. So D-O-S doesn't work for me. See? D-O-L. Wouldn't Brokaw like that? Brokaw had that thing going on, didn't he? Yeah, he did. All right. Anyway, it was a good week for digital distribution here in Dallas. And we here at Radio Misfits, we're trying to do something similar. We are, of course, always looking for backing from people who understand. But what we're going to try and do here, and it's the actual goal, things like DLLS have an advantage because they come into a market and they attach themselves to fan bases. DLLS comes in here and they launch 4 podcasts immediately, 4 daily hour-long podcasts every day. You can set your clock by them. They do a Ranger podcast, they do a Mavericks podcast, they do a Stars podcast, and they do a Cowboy podcast. And for 1 hour, that's all these personalities who you should know from the Fan or the Ticket or the Freak or wherever they're getting these people from, newspapers. You can set your watch to the fact that I want to hear my Cowboy stuff today, and I want to hear it from guys who are funny and are going to be busting balls and all of that. That's what they've done. That's what they've done. So that's difficult, right? So we here at Radio Misfits, we don't want to do exclusive sports. So we don't have that sort of built-in, baked-in sort of target fan base to go after. So, we're going to do sports. We're going to do sports. So sort of our angle on that, and we're still trying to figure out the best way to execute it. But our angle on that, what we want to do here at Dallas Radio Misfits, Radio Misfits Dallas, is eventually create digital, local guy talk content. Guy talk. What is guy? And it's going to be harder. We have to figure out. I mean, does that mean we drill down on porn stars and chicks and car shows? And maybe, I don't know. We're trying to figure that out. Guy talk could also, if we were in the 1990s, it might be called shock talk, right? It's talk that isn't fucking afraid of being canceled. It's talk that funny people are going to say funny things when it strikes them without fear of. That all went away with Howard Stern. When Howard Stern went to Sirius, that whole kind of conversational, real talk that real people enjoy. So that's sort of the plan. That's the grand vision for this place. And I have to tell you that seeing the success of DLLS has certainly not dampered the enthusiasm for what we're going to try and do here. We're going to focus on the local scene. We want bars and strip clubs and art. That's the other thing we want to do, man. We want to do art. We want to bring creators in here, new songwriters, new musicians, new painters, new sculptors, new fucking weird and interesting people. So that's the goal. That's the goal here for Radio Misfits. But it's been a good week. It's been a good week here in Dallas for the hang zone. Are you seeing that? See, that's the other thing we look at here in Radio Misfits. Everybody's doing sports. All the new digital distribution is sports. And we're going to do some sports, but we're going to do less traditional sports, I guess. Hang zone is doing great things. Ben and Skin, they've got like the double platform there where they're doing really interesting digital content on all their socials and as well as their YouTube channel. But also they've got the terrestrial base as well. So they're doing things. Mike Reiner and his ever expanding Dark Companion empire, DC Worldwide. That's what he's going to be. He's doing really good stuff. I appreciate what Mike's doing. Mike's also kind of doing. He's not doing sports like you would think, right? Mike Reiner, he's got to be just doing sports. He's not doing sports. He's doing talk. He's doing real talk. He's doing real conversational talk. And if he wasn't doing his own goddamn thing, he should be the epicenter of what we're trying to do here. He's terrific at it. You ever heard a Mike Reiner interview that isn't sports? Holy shit. It's like I totally understand why he would come out of retirement in order to do something like he did at the Freak. I mean, my God, his entire career has been, what did the Rangers do last night? That's got to get boring. And he did it as well as anybody in this town ever has, but still. So yeah, so that's where we are. Small talk segment off to a big start. Adam Reyna checking in the chat room. Let's say hi to him. He says, and also we're catching him mid-statement. And also, I don't care about the Cowboys that much to listen. Couldn't even do KTs. And I love him. Yeah, everybody loves KT. He's like one of the true gentlemen. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying, is it with Jesse Holly permanently? Because if so, I'm out. Oh, he doesn't like the Jesse Holly. I don't know Jesse Holly. I don't know who he is. I heard him a couple of times on the Freak, and I'm like, what, was he a cowboy? I don't remember him as a cowboy. So I don't know who he is. I don't have a problem with him. I think he's fine. I think he seems. Jesse Holly was responsible for the best moment of the week on DLLS, which was on show 1, the very first podcast they dropped. Jesse Holly and Clarence Hill, the sports journalist from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Jesse Holly and Clarence Hill got into it. It got really awkward, and it wasn't about sports. And this is what All City does so well, the parent company of DWLS. It wasn't just about sports. It got personal between these two guys, and they just let it roll. And what was it about? It was about, I guess, when Jesse Holly was a Cowboy, Clarence Hill was not a fan and wrote some really awful things. And Jesse Holly confronted him on that. Like right there. It was awesome. It was very awkward. And Clarence didn't back down, and it got weird. And it was awesome. It's good local digital content. Local is the key. I don't give a fuck that people in Singapore can listen to your podcast. I want people in South Lake listening to the podcast. Globalism, whatever, you know. What else do we have here? We'll get rid of that. Oh, Mike Gross, my buddy Mike Gross, my radio professional, Michael Gross. Mike says, Pick and Save's parent company, Kroger, admits to price gouging on milk and eggs. Yeah, they don't have to. I've been living that shit. Fucking Kroger. You know me, I consider myself an apex shopper. I'm so good at shopping. I'm so good at shopping, and I have dominated the Kroger sales scene so effectively that yesterday on my ride home, I passed a Walmart supermarket Walmart, you know, the big giant Walmart, passed one of those Walmarts, and I went, am I ready to step up to Walmart? Am I ready to try and shop and find the absolute best deals every time I walk in? I don't think I am. I can barely handle a Tom Thumb. I did Tom Thumb first, where I found they got their 2-for-1 meat specials. Fantastic. It's only chicken and pork, but whatever. You know, that's fine. So I mastered Tom Thumb, and I moved on to Kroger. I feel very good about Kroger. I'm definitely thinking about hitting up Walmart, seeing if I can handle that. Yesterday, this is the small talk segment of the show. I know we should be getting into the details, but as I said, I don't feel really good today, so I'm just going to try and flow. It's a Friday flow show. How's that? Okay, burying the lead here. You all know we've been talking about it all week. My 15-year-old son plays high school football, and yesterday was his first game. And so I was very nervous. As I told you, for the past few months, we've been working on long snaps. We've been working on long snapping. He is very good at long snapping. He's gotten very good. He worked really hard. At it, and he got very good at it. It used to be, you know, like lazy end over ends, and sometimes the punter would have to jump for it or whatever. It wasn't good. Now, he and I have spent the last year, dude, he's slinging spirals. He's slinging darts through his leg. He's terrific at it. And it has really improved his shotgun game, because he's the everyday starting center. And so his shotgun, his shotguns are now like bullets. Bam, right there. I mean, they're perfect. They're varsity level. We're very proud of them. And we're extra proud of them when we watch the other team's center, and we're like, that dude sucks. Our kid's better. Look, criticize me all you want, but when your son plays center on the offensive line, there isn't a whole lot to get excited about in a game. Have you ever spent an entire 4 quarters just focusing on what the center's doing? Doesn't sound like a really great option, but I'll tell you, as a center dad, I love it. I am down. So anyway, the game is last night. It's the first game. I was a little bit nervous, as I shared yesterday, about him under pressure doing his first long snap. So we'll get to that. So we go out to the game. It's an absolutely beautiful night. Oh, what a night for opening weekend of Texas high school football. What an incredible night. So we go out there. It's like what? It's like in the 80s, right? It's good. It's 6 o'clock. The game is starting. So we're out there. It's not too bad. I mean, last year it was punishing this time of year. Last year we're out there at 6 o'clock at night, and it's like 105 degrees. It's like, this sucks. So it was actually quite nice. We had a nice crowd. Played Royce City. No idea where Royce City is. No idea if Royce City is any good. Actually, I do have an idea of whether or not Royce City's any good. They're not. At least not against my son's team. If you remember last year, my son's team was a goddamn steamroller just ripping through. They were undefeated last year, and their point differential was absurd. Now, I brag about this because some of you might remember the year before that where we didn't win a game. They went winless in 8th grade. They went unbeaten freshman year. So now we're getting into sophomore year and we're like, okay, what do we got? What are we dealing with here? We got a 50-50 chance of reverting back to that horseshit 8th grade team or building on where we were last year. They came out, they kicked the holy shit. My kids' team just kicked the holy shit. I'll tell you, the final score was 21-0. The defense just turnovers, picks, everything. It was nasty. My kids' team is good. Although I don't know if Roy City's any good, so it might have just been a bad team. But whatever. They steamrolled them 21-0. And let me tell you, it wasn't 21-0. You're like, well, 21-0, that's definitely a decisive victory, but it's not a steamrolling. They had 3 touchdowns called back. They had 3 touchdowns. So it should have been 41-0. And those 3 touchdowns that were called back resulted in punts. Now, let's get to the long snapping on punts. My kid wasn't long snapping. He wasn't the long snapper. There was some other kid out there long snapping. And let me tell you, with all due respect to my son's teammate, it was not good. They only punted twice after 2 called back touchdowns. Holding. It was holding called. Well, one was an illegal block and the other was a holding, but whatever. And both of these things occurred nowhere near the damn play, so those points should count. So I don't know. So they got some other kid in there, and I guess it was the first game, and I don't know what's going on, but I'm watching this kid snap, and he's sailing. With all due respect, he's probably a lovely kid, but my son, who I have been working with for a year, is like varsity level spirals, boom, right there in the chest of the punter. And this other kid was sailing Easter eggs end over end, and it was bad. It was bad. One punt resulted in like a 5-yard punt. It was just, it was terrible. And the other one was the punter just didn't even kick it. He just ended up running and lost like a couple of yards. But so I didn't know what was going on with that. So I had to ask my kid, and I'm like, what is going on with that? And they're like, they know I'm better, but they want his first game, and this kid has been trying, and so they put him in there. And I'm like, so are you gonna be long snapping next week? And he's like, God, I hope so. And I'm like, yeah, I do too. It's like, what do they think? It's too much for him? Like, he's a center. I will say this also about my son, because I could show you videos. Oh, I take the videos. I've got the videos. My kid, there was a kid on that team who wore number 59, and I would like to apologize to his parents. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry that my son thoroughly dominated your kid the entire game. Very proud. So there you go. 1-0. And next week we got a whole new thing. Byron says I'm late. No notification. Really? No notification on this, huh? We got more on Adam versus Jesse Holly. Jesse Holly, one of the DLLS Cowboys podcasters. Let's see. He says Jesse called me fat, which I don't mind, honestly. But then I busted on his receding hairline, and then he blocked me on Twitter. He's a baby. You got to him. Oh, that must have hurt. He must be real sensitive about his hairline then, for blocking you. Like, that's a reason to block you? Oh my God, that's funny. All right. So we learned something about Jesse Holly. Apparently Adam has uncovered that he is uncomfortable with his hairline. Not me, man. Not me. When I started to go bald around about 27, 28, I said, you don't want to be here. I don't want to live with you. And I started shaving my head. I'm like, no way. No way am I going to like start combing over. I'm like, fuck you. If you don't want to be on the top of my head, I don't want it. I don't need you. So I was shaving my head for like 40 years. So, no need to be afraid about the receding hairline. Again, isn't that me? I started shaving my head. Why? Plausible deniability. I'm not going bald. I have cancer. No, I'm not going bald. I choose to shave my head. I choose to shave my head because I'm a pudgy white guy, and I think I look like Michael Jordan in 1997. No, that wasn't it. Shaved my head because I was going bald, and I was like, fuck you, hair. I grow a beard. I'll fucking just start growing a beard. There we go. Ha. Top of my head, bottom of my head says fuck you. Let's get started on today's show. What do you say? This has been enough. I am a little upset that Byron did not receive a notification. Did anybody else not receive a notification for this show? I mean, I scheduled it late. I scheduled it like 2 minutes before noon on a show that's supposed to start at noon. So maybe that's accounting for it. But honestly, Byron, you've been here every day at around this time. Do you need a notification? I'm not worried about Byron getting a notification. He's here every day. He knows when we're on. He understands this as well as anybody possibly could. I'm worried about new people. I'm worried about growth. I'm worried about you people not liking, subscribing, forwarding, sharing. That's what we need out of you people. That's how we grow. Fucking DLLS, 60,000 likes in the first day. I've been on the air 3 years. I don't have 60,000 likes. I don't have 16,000 likes. I've been on the air 3 years. They do it in one day. Am I upset by that? No, because I see that as proof of concept. I see that as, well, they're doing it because they've got backing. We need backing. We need money. We need to blow this motherfucker up. Let's go. All right, with the show, The Rant, which is now started. It runs on your gratuities. Thank you so much for all the people who help out this show. We do award the title of executive producer every day on this show for someone who has contributed or tipped the show on the previous day. Today we do have an executive producer, and it's the lovely Christina P. Thank you so much, Christina. Christina is another one of these 15 or so that get us through the month, and we couldn't be more appreciative of all of you. So thank you so much. If you are so inclined, here's what I would say today. We're going to start Pledge Week next week. If you do want to tip something today, I would encourage you to go and check out the Kelly Moore Memorial over there at GoFundMe, GoFundMe.com in loving memory of Kelly Moore. I'm going to put it down there scrolling. Why isn't it scrolling? Hide? Is it scrolling? Restream is the fucking worst. Okay, hold on. Oh, you know what? Maybe Restream isn't the worst. Boom, there I go. All right, I'm the worst. It's not Restream. Sometimes it's Restream, but today it's not. So go ahead, drop a little something in there for Kelly, my partner of a couple of decades, suddenly passed away last Monday. It's 2 weeks now, right? It's going to be 3 weeks on Monday. Jeez Louise. We still don't have any answers. You'll get answers when we have answers. No cause of death. We don't know. She went to sleep. She didn't wake up. Okay. Good times. Holy shit. Okay, let's do this. Let's tell you about the show. It runs in 4 quarters. I give you 4 distinct segments every day. The first one, we call it Antecedently on This Day. That's a look back at this day in history. I riff on that. This is all done in a stream of consciousness. I start talking and I don't stop. It's the other thing about this show. In the coming weeks, we're going to start morphing it. As soon as we can figure out how to do multiple cameras and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to have guests and co-hosts, and I'd love to build like a show. I'd love to build a group of people. But again, we're going to do it every day at noon for no pay. So fuck me, right? Like, who's going to do that? It's a problem. Anyway, maybe we're working all of this stuff out. First quarter, Antecedently on This Day. Just to look back at history. Helps fuel the stream of consciousness. Quarter 2 is birthdays. These are people born on this day. We just run through a list and go, are they cool? Do they suck? And we talk about them a little bit. Deads are fun because we get to sit in judgment. These are people who died on this day, and we decide heaven or hell. Where'd they go? Quarter 4 is everything else. Rubber hits the road. The bullshit of the day. The headlines, the hot topics, the trends. Shit that people are talking about. I'm swearing a lot more. Don't know why I've been doing that lately, but I am. You know why? Because I'm trying to be less of a traditional performer. I'm trying to be less of a traditional talk show host. I'm trying to be more like somebody that people might actually enjoy listening to because they seem authentic. And guess what? My authentic self swears a whole lot. Do your kids swear? Here's a good question for you before we get started. Do your kids swear? I got a 15-year-old son. Swears like a trucker. He swears like a trucker, and I don't do anything about it. Quite frankly, he's been swearing like that around me since he was 11, 12 years old. It started out being really funny. Everybody loves when a 5-year-old says the F word. It's like, ha, 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 you're in trouble. But, you know, I never I never squelched verbal articulation from my kid. I always wanted him to express himself with words. And, if the best way to convey an emotion that a 7-year-old is going through is to say, fuck, then you know what? That's life. Here was my rule, though, on swears. And he'll tell you this. This is a good rule. And I learned this rule from Kelly Moore. My kid's allowed to swear as long as he's not using the word against somebody. You're allowed to swear, and the example that I often give is that if he's licking an ice cream cone and the ice cream falls on the ground, he's allowed to go, oh, shit, right? But what he's not allowed to do is go, you know what? I'm sick of your shit. Do you understand the different uses, the way that these vulgarities, if you will, can be used? One is expressive and, really not that big of a deal. The other is aggressive, and there's no place for that. So that was my rule. My kid swears like a sailor. He was very pumped after the game yesterday. That's all I'm saying. Just like, ooh, you talk like that around your mom? I know he does. His mom's cool. His mom's fine with him swearing. All right, so should we get started? Let's get started. Welcome to the Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. It is Moran. I said Moran like a fucking idiot who doesn't even know his name. It is the 30th day of August, year of our Lord, 2024. It is the 243rd day. I'm going to try and sneak a sip of my big gulp. That's authentic. Me just sitting there, a fat guy drinking a giant big gulp in the middle of the day. August 30th is the 243rd day of the year, and there's 123 more until, I don't know, New Year's Eve. Another New Year's Eve where I won't fucking do anything. I don't do anything on New Year's. I haven't gone out on New Year's. I can't remember the last time. Well, it's been 15 years because I spend every New Year's Eve with my kid. So I've always had my kid over every New Year's Eve. I'm telling you, in the beginning, I used to work hard at trying to make it memorable. Like you taking a nap at 4:00 so you can wake up. It was all of that. But, since he turned 12, we don't even make it to midnight most times now. It's not a big thing. We get pizza. The big thing is we have a dinner, we do something that night, we play some games. We have a yearly tournament called the Kitchen Olympics where we create a whole bunch of games. One of them, unfortunately, is a version of beer pong, but I don't know that my 15-year-old knows that, and he certainly didn't know that at 10. And so, anyway, he's ready for college. He's gonna when he discovers that his kitchen pong skills, which is what we used to call it, his kitchen pong skills are going to translate into frat house fame. He's very good. Well, I don't know if he's very good, but he's probably better at what we know as beer pong than any 15-year-old should be. What else? No, I'm just ranting. All right, antecedently on this day, let's get started. Antecedently on this day in 1835, Melbourne, Australia is founded. Welcome to the world party, Melbourne. 1835, Melbourne. Does that seem right to you? I mean, I've honestly never thought about this before. This is the first time I've ever thought about, when was Melbourne founded? I guess that seems right. I mean, do you think of Australia as being older or newer than the United States? I think of it as being newer, but I don't know. All right, moving on. Antecedently on this day in 1836, the city of Houston is founded. Yeah! Welcome to the party, Houston. You fucking dirtbag losers. I'm not a fan of Houston. Here's what Houston is. This is how I think Dallas looks at Houston. I think Dallas looks at Houston as the older brother. And I don't even know if Houston's older than Dallas. I don't. But I think Dallas looks at Houston as the older brother who's just such a fuck up and he is tired. Dallas is successful. Dallas is the successful brother who's a doctor or something. And he's just sick and fucking tired of Houston taking mom and dad's money in their retirement or whatever it is, whatever little scam Houston's got going on. That's how I look at Houston. Dirty too. It is just the skankiest part of Texas. Boy, Pug's going real hard on Houston, aren't you? It's just, and it's not even about sports teams. Although I fucking hate the Astros, but it ain't about sports teams. I don't have a problem with the Texans, not at all. As a matter of fact, I think that's a great story. It's just the city itself. The city itself is just not for me. It's like I've spent a lot of time in both Houston and Cleveland. And if you remember, like Cleveland used to get shit on all the time. And I'm like, have you people been to Houston? I go, Houston is like way worse than Cleveland. Houston is Cleveland with just unbelievable humidity and like just the faint smell of an oil fire that's been burning for like 100 years. That's Houston. Happy birthday, Houston. You're 1 year younger than Melbourne, Australia. Antecedently on this day in 1963, let's see, the Washington-Moscow hotline is established. The red phone between the Oval Office and wherever the Soviet premier sits in the Kremlin. I don't know what that's called. I don't know. This is not a real thing. This is like okay. So there are certain things that movies have made us think are real. Now, the Moscow to Washington hotline is a real thing. It's a real thing. There is on this day a means of communication was established directly between the President of the United States and the General Secretary of the Communist Party in Russia, what is now Russia. But it's not what Hollywood showed us. Hollywood showed us a red phone. And why? Because we're stupid. And Hollywood was like, well, we don't have time to explain to them about tradecraft and back channels and, people in the Pentagon who know people in the Kremlin. That takes too much exposition in a film. So they created a red phone. And now we all just think there's a red phone. And the President of the United States can just pick it up and go, hi, comrade. No, that's not how it works. But whatever. On this day, those means of communications were set up between the White House and the Kremlin. It just wasn't a red phone. It's just never been a red phone. Although if I was president, and I don't know if this is true, because now I've got this like sketchy thing. Did Trump do this? Oh my God. Seriously, if Trump did this, it would be like one of the things that I'd go, that's cool. That's cool. I think Trump put a red phone on his desk. I don't know if he did. I don't know. I think it's like, is that something I heard? Like Trump wanted a red phone on his desk, even if it wasn't connected, just because when people walked in, they expected to see. I don't know if that's true or not. Anyway, it's not a real thing. There's no phone that connects directly to. The other thing that Hollywood fools us about, the other thing that we all think. When have you ever been pulled over by two uniformed cops in a car? When have you ever in your town seen two cops, like on the reg, not like, well, I'm a normal cop and this is my supervisor and he's going for a ride. No, every single day, two cops walk to their car after their meeting and they get in and then they drive around the suburbs and pull people over. Two cops. You don't see it. It's not a thing. Police departments very rarely have two police officers in the same vehicle. It's not a good use of manpower. Special teams and special investigations, and sometimes, that might be, but you've never been pulled over by two cops, except in the case of, I know that someone pointed this out to me. This is different on like interstate highways. You may have been pulled over on an interstate highway where two cops got out of the car, and that's because those interstate highways have been deemed heavy drug trafficking highways. So there's a little bit more of a police sort of thing. But you've never been pulled over in your neighborhood and two cops got out. That's a Hollywood thing. Why? Because when you're writing dialogue and a cop is a main character, he's got to have somebody to talk to. So they put somebody in the car with him. That's all. There are no two cops. I always get mad when I see that. There's no way that township can afford to pay two full-time officers to ride around in one car. On this day, the Moscow to Washington hotline is established. 1963. 1967, Thurgood. I'm going to say it right, because I don't know why. I always want to say Thurgood. Thurgood Marshall. Oh, my goodness. That Thurgood Marshall, he sure was a great justice of this. It's Thurgood. Thurgood. Not Thorogood. Thurgood Marshall on this day in 1967 is confirmed as the first African-American justice of these here United Supreme Courts. Good for him. Black Panther played him in a movie, right? In that, what's that? Chadwick Boseman. Oh, how soon we forget. He just died like 2 days ago. I mean, he didn't just die 2 days ago. Like he died like years ago, but it was the anniversary like 2 days ago. Chadwick Boseman. Did he play him? I don't know. This is where middle-aged white guys get in trouble. Like, was that Chadwick Boseman or was that Ililia Chickalickle I don't know. I can't. It's not that they all look. It's not that. It's. Okay, you got me. I guess it's that I just have some of this ingrained institutional racism where I'm not sure if that was. I think it was Chadwick Boseman who played Thurgood Marshall. On this day, I know it wasn't Sam Jackson. On this day in 2021, the last remaining American troops leave Afghanistan, ending U.S. involvement in the war. Ha-ha, we won. Another one we won. We won that. We won. We won because we left. We weren't chased out. We left. We won. We won. What is the record? If we were like really objectively looking at the American wars of the past 200 and, I don't know, 50 years or so, whatever, 1776, starting with the revolution, what is our record? That's an uncomfortable conversation, isn't it? And that's like, did we really you're putting Korea in the win column, but it's almost like North Korea doesn't exist today, huh? I guess we're not, just wondering what the record is. I know we won Desert Storm. Remember that in the 90s? We won that motherfucker. Oh yeah. Like 1992 when Saddam rolled into Kuwait, tried to rape and pillage his way all across that super wealthy nation. No, we stood up to that. Desert Storm. No, actually it was Desert Shield. That's what was cool. We hadn't really had a war. That was like the first understanding of a real-time military engagement that I had sort of had in my life as a kid, because sure, Vietnam was going on, but that was over in 74. I was like a baby still, and I don't remember that. And then, yeah, we did the Panama thing where we went and got Noriega. And then I think there was like a dust up in Grenada, but that wasn't really a thing. You know what was a thing? When Schwarzkopf came out and laid out the plans for Desert Shield on TV. Oh, woo! That was awesome. We won that one. That's going to do it. All right, Q2 now. Let's do some birthdays. Want 'em. They claim it's their birthday. No idea if it is. It's their listed birthday. Maybe it's not. I'm not going to call their moms and ask. Can't call this one's mom. This one's been dead forever. Born on this day in 1908, dead in 1991. Fred McMurray. I'm throwing this out there for the old folks. Fred McMurray was the dad on My Three Sons. He was awesome. He was like Fred Douglas. Was that his name? He was awesome. What was his deal? What's the deal there? How did he murder his wife? I'm going with it. That's why he was so nice. He was so nice in My Three Sons because he murdered his wife. And he was just trying to like overcompensate for the fact that he was a horrid man. Here's another fun fact about Fred McMurray. Big drunk. Drunk the whole time he was doing My Three Sons. Maybe that's why he was nice. Maybe he's a good drunk. Not everybody who's a drunk is a bad drunk. Some drunks are really good drunks. Maybe Fred McMurray was a good drunk. Another fun fact about Fred McMurray. Before playing that role of Mr. Douglas on My Three Sons, Fred McMurray was a pretty well-known actor in Hollywood. He did a lot of noir stuff, a lot of detective type things, and he almost exclusively played bad guys. Yeah. So when Fred McMurray shows up on My Three Sons, there's a whole bunch of people who are like, that guy's awful. He's like really, he's mean. Be like if Negan, what's that guy's name? Be like if Negan from Walking Dead all of a sudden was like America's favorite sitcom dad. It's kind of a weird juxtaposition. Fred McMurray, born on this day in 1908. That was way too much time dedicated to Fred McMurray. Got to be honest. On this day in 1918, old Teddy Ball Game, Ted Williams. Greatest hitter of all time, some say. Although less and less, because anyone who says that is dead. They're starting to die off. Ted Williams. Let's see here. Born on this day in 1930, Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, who just this past week became the first non-tech company in the world to be valued at $1 trillion. Berkshire Hathaway? What do? They just own other things, right? You know what they do? They just gobble shit up. Warren Buffett, born on this day in 1930. Is he one of the good ones? I hate my billionaires. I hate them unless they want to invest in, digital distribution of Guy Talk. I hate billionaires. There are some ones that I can tolerate, though. There are some that I'm like, okay. And I think Warren Buffett might be one. I don't know. I'm afraid to learn more about Warren Buffett. I really am. Born on this day in 1935, John Phillips. John Phillips. Not Sousa. Not John Phillips Sousa. John Phillips and the Mamas and the Papas. Don't overturn too many stones from this dude's past. Oh, my God. Was he good? Yeah. All right, let's get that out of the way. Was he good? Yeah, he was really good. Was he a good songwriter? Yeah, absolutely. Were the Mamas and the Papas really great? Yeah. Do they have songs that are like really just undeniably classics? Yeah. Is California Dreamin' one of the 10 best songs ever written? Yeah. Was he also a really bad dad? More on that in a second. A really bad dad? Is he also a drug addict and a horrible husband and probably an abusive husband? I believe it was Michelle Phillips, the beautiful Michelle Phillips, who pointed that out, that he used to knock her around. He was controlling and horrible. Yeah, probably. But it's the Mackenzie Phillips stuff. Oh, God. Oh, this is so gross. So Mackenzie Phillips, who was, of course, on the sitcom One Day at a Time with Valerie Bertinelli, and who else? Bonnie Franklin. She was the star of it. She played one of the daughters, and she was a very big TV star, Mackenzie Phillips, between 1978 and 1988, somewhere in there. She would later in life write a book about being the daughter of John Phillips, our birthday boy today, in which she divulged that he was basically raping her, his own daughter, like her whole life, and that her problems with drugs came from him because he would do drugs with her and they would have sex. And so John Phillips was born on this day. I'm not even going to say happy birthday to old John Phillips. Born on this day in 1946. Here's someone that I like. I like this chick. It's undeniable. This chick. She kind of, you know what she kind of reminds me of? And this is weird, but she always reminded me of like Claire Danes. I don't know if you like Claire Danes. I used to like Claire Danes. Claire Danes got a little bit weird. Happy birthday to Peggy Lipton. You guys know who Peggy Lipton is? She was on Twin Peaks. She played the waitress who served the best cherry pie in all of, Washington State, and the best cup of coffee. Peggy Lipton played the waitress, but also before that, she's very important to like an older generation because she was the star of the Mod Squad, which was a very big show in the 1960s. She was married to Quincy Jones, and she is the mother of Rashida Jones, who we all love. That is Peggy Lipton on the right, and that is, of course, Rashida Jones on the left. Look at them together. They look a lot alike. Once I found out that Rashida Jones' mom was Peggy Lipton, I was like, oh my God, I can totally see it. I mean, the only difference is, of course, Rashida Jones has a black father, and Peggy Lipton is probably about as white as they come. Look at him, Peggy Lipton. She died a couple of years ago. Cancer, I want to say, some form of cancer. Look at her, dude, I'm telling you. I am telling you. If you just looked at that really quick, you'd be like, look, it's Rashida Jones and Claire Danes. I think Peggy Lipton looks like Claire Danes. All right, there you have it. Peggy Lipton. Born on this day. From Twin Peaks, from the Mod Squad, and the mother of everybody's favorite, Rashida Jones. Actually, I don't even know if she is your favorite. I just know that I like her, and I know that a lot of people like her. She was Karen from The Office. How do you not like Karen from The Office? Born on this day in 1963, Michael Chiklish. Ooh, love me some Chiklish. I am very Chiklish. If I see Chiklish in a show, I'm going to watch that show. Chiklish was, of course... oh boy, do I have to do a greatest characters in television history draft? Because if I have to do a greatest characters in television history draft, I'm going to have about 24 hours to truly contemplate the difference between Tony Soprano and Vic Mackey. Vic Mackey, as portrayed by the great birthday boy, Michael Chiklish. Vic Mackey is, of course, from The Shield. I don't know if you've ever watched The Shield. On FX. It is without question, and I will die on this hill. I will knife fight you. It is easily, in my estimation, the best cop series ever on television. Ever. Sorry. And Michael Chiklish was the star of it. The Shield was it's the true story of the Rampart scandal in Los Angeles, California. The Rampart district was a police district in Los Angeles. I think it was in like Koreatown or something, but it was in the 1990s, there were all these scandals, and they were running drugs, and they were protecting drug dealers, and they were murdering people. I mean, it was insane. So they created a television show called Rampart. And then everybody who was associated with the Rampart thing said, we're going to sue. So they just changed the name to The Shield. And changed all the characters' names and made it so, this is fictional. Yeah, I know. It seems like it's exactly like the Rampart Division scandal. The Shield was so good. Michael Chiklis played Vic Mackey, the lead detective, who was so complicated. This is why I say, is Vic Mackey the best character since Tony Soprano? The deepest, most complicated character since Tony Soprano. Vic Mackey was a damn good cop. He was a good cop. He was also a stone cold criminal and a corrupt, murderous piece of shit, but also a really good cop. I mean, when he was not doing that other stuff, he was like, he could solve the murder. He could solve the murder so quick that he'd then pin it on somebody else. He was great. Michael Chiklis is awesome. Also, I direct your attention if you want to start a Michael Chiklis. If you want to be like me, Chiklis. There's a movie called Wired, which was made. It was Michael Chiklis's first film, and it killed his career. He'll tell you. He goes, I made this movie. It was my first movie, and I didn't work again in Hollywood for 15 years. Or whatever. I don't know how many years. But it killed his career. It was called Wired. And it came out around 1990, maybe a little bit earlier than that, but what maybe it was the late 80s. Wired was taken from the Bob Woodward book? The Bob Woodward book, Wired, which is the story of John Belushi, which is the story of the death of John Belushi. Now, this movie met a lot of resistance in 1980s Hollywood because there were names being named, and the story of how Belushi was living his life in the final moments was going to be made public, and there were a lot of people still in power and a lot of people who were still relevant in Hollywood who were like, no. They made the movie anyway. They made the movie, and the movie was completely trashed by critics, and nobody saw it. It was a box office bomb, and Michael Chiklis's mere association with that film set his career back probably a decade. And he was amazing in it as Belushi. He was so good. I loved that movie. I didn't understand it. I was probably 20 years old, and I didn't understand what all the backlash was. I'm like, did they see the same movie I did? Because, see, I'm a Belushi fan, and I found it really fascinating. A little bit weird. There's like signs with ghosts and stuff appear and haunt, Belushi. But whatever. If you want to see an interesting movie that killed Michael Chiklis's career, go see Wired. Michael Chiklis, born on this day in 1963. Born on this day in 1972, Cameron Diaz. Hey, what do Kamala Harris and Cameron Diaz have in common? I mean, if you ask right-wing Twitter, they might be able to answer that question. Well, neither were qualified for the job, so they got on their knees. I know people who've told me stories. And I've heard a lot of Cameron Diaz stories, man. Cameron Diaz, nothing was going to stop her. All right, let's keep going. Born on this day in 2002, number 3 draft in last year's NFL college draft, Drake May. Drake May, you suck, dude. What? Ugh. I'm not a Drake May fan. I do not think he is going to be a baller in the NFL. I think that the only 2 reasonable choices, actually there were 3. There were 3 people who last year in the draft I would have been okay. 2 people, really, that I would have been okay with my Chicago Bears taking at number 1. Of course, I wanted Caleb Williams, but then there was also Daniels, right? I also like Bo Nix, though. I always like Bo Nix, and I think it has to do with the name. I think his name is Bo Nix, and I think that sounds like a quarterback name. So I think for some reason I have some strange, like, he's going to be good because he sounds like he's going to be good. There you go. All right. Happy birthday, Drake May. Let's do the deads. These are people who have died on this day. And at least they claim to have died on this day. We know we ain't seen them around lately. Let's determine whether or not they went to heaven or hell. Dead on this day in 1970, a great man of Dallas, a great local. I don't know if he's local. I think he's local. Yeah, he was the tailor, right? With Abraham Zapruder. The Zapruder film. He's the 1960s style creeper who was just out there filming people with his camera. Creeper. Was he doing like skirt shots? Was he that, or was this really just innocent? I don't know. Who had a camera back in 63? Nobody. Actually, Abe did, and the world thanks him for it, for being a perv creep. No, I'm just kidding. He was out there. He was filming the Kennedy parade down Houston Street or whatever it was. I don't know those streets. I lived there. I lived like right at the corner there. I was like, oh. My son learned to walk on the grassy knoll. I love that. I love that that is a true story. I love that my son took his first solo steps on the grassy knoll. And not because we were being gruesome and like, let's go to the grassy knoll. And no, it was just because it was the grass across the street from where we lived. And that's where we would, my dog his shit on the grassy knoll. And I picked it up. Anyway. Abraham Zapruder, where'd he go? Heaven or hell? Let's say heaven. He had he was an early adopter, and typically I don't like early adopters, but he was an early adopter of video cameras or film cameras or whatever, personal cameras. And he was out there and he was filming, and without that, we wouldn't have the whole Kennedy thing. So I'm gonna put him in heaven. Abe Zapruder. Don't know much more about him. I think was he a tailor? Is that what he was down there on like downtown Dallas in the 60s? Dead on this day in 2003. Here's another dude that's going to heaven. Charles Bronson. This dude was badass. If you were a child in the 1970s or 80s, the men in your life didn't force feed Charles Bronson movies on you, then you're soft. You're soft. Maybe it was because I was being raised by a woman that, certain men in my life were like, we're watching Bronson. I'm like, I don't want to watch Bronson. Then we're watching The Magnificent Seven. It was this big push to get me a little bit masculined up. So I watched a lot of Bronson, especially with my grandpa. My grandpa liked Bronson. My grandpa liked Bronson better than he liked Eastwood. And I think that's why to this day, I like Bronson better than I like Eastwood. My grandpa, this is crazy. My grandpa was way more into like Death Wish. Like he liked that movie Death Wish. We watched it on TV one night. And he said immediately, he goes, this is so much better than those stupid Harry movies. I'm like, I think they're called Dirty Harry movies, Grandpa. Bronson's going to heaven. He was awesome. He's also the dude in the coolest picture that I've ever seen. Now I show this from time to time. I want this picture framed, blown up. I don't know. I just think it's a cool picture. And it doesn't even matter that it's two celebrities. Hold on. Let me show you this. Yeah, it's the first one that comes up. For some reason, this is just a badass picture of Charles Bronson and his then wife, actress Jill Ireland. It's 70s. It's black and white. Why won't this get bigger? Why can't make it bigger? How do I make it? God damn it. Hold on. Why can't I make that picture bigger? What the? There we go. Look at that. That picture is, for some reason, that picture is just, I love that picture. Those two are DTF. And that's probably where they're walking. They're probably walking to go bang the snot out of each other. Look at them. Two hot people in the 70s. Bronson and Jill Ireland. That's just such a great picture. Look at how yoked up he is, man. Let me be honest. He'd have beat the fuck out of Clint Eastwood. My grandpa was right. Bronson was a badass. Charles Bronson, we're putting him in heaven. Dead on this day in 2015, preemptively, he's going to hell. I don't know how you not put this dude in hell. I mean, Wes Craven, film director. Wes Craven died on this day. So he's in hell, of course, because that dude was fucked up. That dude's Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know, all those stuff. That's all he did, right? He did like scary shit. And how great is it? My late great former partner Kelly used to have a theory that some people just have names that dictate where their life takes them. Wes Craven would be a good example of this. His name is Craven, and he wrote and directed some of the most Craven film scripts of all time. So he's in hell. Wes Craven's in hell. What? Oh, that sucks. Hold on. You know what I just did? Because I got big fat dumb guy fingers, I accidentally hit like the microphone on my phone. So everything that I just ranted started to print out like in the middle of my script. And it's not a script, it's notes. But so now I'm like, what the fuck? Wes Craven, we're putting him in hell. Dead on this day in 2019. Now this is going to test one of my theories, one of my beliefs. Dead on this day in 2019, Valerie Harper. Valerie Harper. Valerie Harper. She was Rhoda. She was Rhoda. She was Mary Tyler Moore's best friend in Minneapolis, and then she moved back to New York, and she got her own show called Rhoda. They had a doorman named Carlton. She wore like scarves on her head. She was kind of hot, although I was like 6 or 7, so I wasn't really like processing her that way. But here's what I knew about Rhoda. Rhoda was cool. Rhoda was cool. You know who wasn't cool? Mary Tyler Moore. Mary Tyler Moore was an absolute mess. You know who else wasn't cool? Phyllis, their other friend. Mary Tyler Moore, Rhoda, and Phyllis. Phyllis wasn't cool. Phyllis was like all bullshit poser. That's Phyllis. Mary Tyler Moore was anxious and she lacked confidence and she was always like, well, I don't know. You know, that whole thing. Not Rhoda. Rhoda was a baller from New York City living in Minnesota. She was confident. She took no shit from nobody. Valerie Harper was cool. I liked her. I liked Valerie Harper. I don't even know if she was hot. We got to decide. There you go. Let's play a little game of Would Ya for the late, great Valerie Harper. By the way, she's going to heaven. I like her. I know she's an actress and she's supposed to not go to heaven, but, you know, Rhoda was cool. And also the Hogans, the Hogan family, or actually, you know, didn't it start out as Valerie? It started out as Valerie. That was the name of the show. And then Valerie was like, you know, I don't want to do the show anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. And they went out and they got Sandy Duncan. Apparently they killed her off. They went out and got Sandy Duncan and renamed the show The Hogans. And then nobody liked that, and it got switched to a different network, and they gave it another new name, and it became known as the Hogan Family. I don't know. I watched all 3. I thought it was a good show. I'm a Bateman head. I'm a Jason Bateman head. He was the star of it. He was the Hogan kid. So I watched. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at Valerie Harper. We're going to ask the question that we ask every day when we run across one of these. Would ya? Because I don't remember. Rhoda was like from when I was 5 or 6 years old. I didn't look at her like a, you know, like a man would look at a woman. So let's see. Let's just take some rando looks at Valerie Harper. I don't think we need her as Rhoda necessarily, but all right, let's see. What are we dealing with here? I can tell you I've already made up my mind. I have already decided off of a glimpse of one picture. I have already decided the question of would ya. Now, this is an older Rhoda. I'm just going to call her Rhoda. There she is. Okay, that's kind of her as Rhoda. That's a younger her. That's older her. I think I just want like, there you go. That's Rhoda. That's what I told you. I even said she wears stupid scarves on her head. All right, here's what's going on with Rhoda. Let's check out Rhoda, shall we? Because the last time I probably looked at Rhoda this way, I was 7, 8. All right, so I'm a grown-ass man. I'm looking at Rhoda. We're at the bar, and Rhoda sidles up next to me. I am down. I'm down. Well, who would have a problem with her? She looks like, I don't know, Stevie Van Zant's little sister. She's out there looking like a rock star, wearing her scarf and her blouse. She's wearing Steven Tyler clothes, but it's gender appropriate. See, Steven Tyler, it's not. It's gender inappropriate. All right, let's see if we got any more good Rhoda pictures. There's more Rhoda, but that's older Rhoda. That's her cosplaying Rhoda. She's like, I did Rhoda 20 years ago. Yeah, see, she's good looking. Valerie Harper. She's good looking. All right. Case settled. There you go. We're putting her in heaven. Dead on this day in the year 2022, Mikhail Gorbachev. Mikhail Gorbachev. Another testing of my rules. I have a couple of rules with this. Actresses go to hell. Always. Football coaches, especially college football coaches from the 70s and 80s, absolutely go to hell. What else? Politicians. Politicians go to hell. And that brings us to Mikhail Gorbachev. I gotta preface, that rule about politicians going to hell. When I say that, I am thinking of an American-style politician. Mikhail Gorbachev was a Communist Party member, so I don't know that the same just, thoughtless designation should be applied to him as he's not a politician. He wasn't a politician. He was a ruler, but fuck. The whole reason that the Soviet Union went down the tubes is because of him, because of glasnost and perestroika and all of those things that we started hearing about. These were all his initiatives. I'm going to put him in heaven. I'm putting Gorby in heaven. He knew. He looked at the madness of the Cold War and he was like, we cannot keep doing this. Somebody has got to say enough. And he did. He was like, okay. Now, the entire Soviet Union would, in the coming years, crumble under the weight of that one man's decision, but whatever. I don't care. I'm not worried about Russia raining nuclear bombs down on me in the 5th grade anymore, so whatever. It's all good. All right, there you have it. That's going to do it. Those are the first 3 quarters. We've done dead people. We're done. We've done birthdays. We're done there. We've also done antecedently on this day, a look back at the history. So now it's quarter 4, which means it is time for us to once again delve into the hot topics of the day. Now, do want to remind you all, Christina P. is today's executive producer, so if you've got any complaints, take them up with her. Sports Bros, Gorby's birthmark is in hell. All right, let's go. Let's jump into this. First and foremost, let's stop being dickishly silly and be serious, because there is something very serious that happened. Last night, a Dallas police officer was killed in the line of duty. A big story here locally. Here's what we know. It happened in Oak Cliff. 2 other police officers were injured. One shot in the leg. He's going to be fine. The other one, I do not know exactly what it is. Maybe we'll find it here in this report. Here's what happened. They went to a community center in Oak Cliff last night around 10 o'clock. I don't know what the initial call was about. Probably just Oak Cliff nonsense. If you're a cop patrolling Oak Cliff, there's a indeterminate amount of nonsense around every corner. So this, of course, ended with this was not nonsense. This turned out to be something very serious. One police officer is dead. The shooter, then jumped in the car and led police on a police chase, which took them from Oak Cliff and ended in Louisville. God, this dude, and there's video out there. You can find it of the police chase going up 35. You see this stream of police cars. I didn't really make the suspect's car, but all you can see it, just police cars with their lights going. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a police chase. That's kind of an OJ police, not high speed. I don't know. He wasn't driving. Was he driving recklessly? I don't know. But he gets up there to Louisville, and at some point, the dude pulls over, jumps out, pulls a long gun, starts shooting at the pursuing police officers, and that son of a bitch is taken out. Too sweet. Right away. He's dead. So fuck that guy. Here's the report. It says here, let's see, a Dallas police officer was found shot in his marked patrol car near the Oak Cliff community late Thursday night. Responding officers exchanged gunfire with the suspect. See here, okay. This is the part in the story when I heard it this morning that I was like, so the suspect just was hanging out? He didn't flee the scene after killing the cop? So a Dallas police officer shows up, as I say, just probably thought it was typical Thursday night Oak Cliff nonsense. He shows up and he ends up shot dead in his car. And then I don't know how long he was there, but it certainly probably wasn't immediate. But at some point, somebody else discovers that and calls the police and says, something's just happened to an officer. So then other police officers come screaming over to the site, where they then engaged the shooter. The shooter was hanging out. The shooter didn't kill the cop in his car and then go, I should probably get as far away from here as possible because I got to believe that within the next 10 minutes, this place is going to be swarmed with police. He didn't do that. He just kind of stayed there so that then a police chase. Anyway, A Dallas police officer was found shot in his marked patrol vehicle near the Oak Cliff community late Thursday night. Responding officers exchanged gunfire with the suspect, and 2 additional officers were also shot. 1 officer has passed. Another is in critical condition. The third is expected to be okay. Okay, the second one, the critical condition one. Keep good thoughts there. Fellow officers shot and killed the suspect after a police chase that ended in Louisville. Okay, those are the bullet points. Man, cops take a lot of shit. You know, I say this all the time. Consider myself, I come from a cop family. I got my dad's side, who I don't really know, but they had a number of cops over there. There's a cop over there. There's cop chief of police over there, that kind of thing. My mom worked for the state police. I always talk about that. She worked for the state police for 20, 25 years, something like that. 2 of my best friends growing up, their dads were very important police officers in the community. So I grew up with this cop presence. I grew up with seeing cops drunk in the 4th of July in the backyard at picnic tables. You know, I grew up with cops as my football coaches. So I have inherently a belief that police are good. The idea of police are good. Now, all of these cops who I believe are good cops that I grew up around and who influenced me and all of this stuff, they will tell you as quickly as I will, there's a problem with bad cops. I mean, that's one of the conversations that I remember vividly hearing. It was my friend's dad and his cop buddies, and we were in the backyard and we were grilling and everybody was playing horseshoes. I don't know if it was like a graduation party or something. In fact, I think it was a high school graduation party. And I remember sitting there listening to these old, grizzled, high-ranking cops. Like, these are chiefs. These are captains. And I remember sitting here listening to these guys, and all they kept going on about is how there are so many cops that can't be cops anymore. We have to get rid of these cops. They're just bad cops. So cops know. And I do believe there are good ones. So when we talk about this situation that happened last night, even though it might be fashionable to be like, fuck the pigs, no, stop that. There are bad cops and they deserve your ire, but there are also good cops, and we have no way of knowing in this particular case, other than one of them put their life on the line and died in Dallas last night, just simply checking out. Probably an alarm went off at the community center or something, whatever it was, something routine, and now he's dead. And he's got a family, and he's got people who loved him, and no matter what you think, the cops are dicks. You're going to have to stow that kind of thought somewhere else for today, because everybody's thoughts should be with these public servants. 3 of them. 2 of them, one of them dead, one of them critically injured, and one of them shot in the leg. Whatever you think, that shit happened to them because they were doing something ostensibly for the community. They were trying to protect the community from somebody who was obviously a madman. Gets out of his car in Louisville and just starts firing. I mean, it's like from a movie. That's like from a Michael Mann cocaine movie. All right, so good thoughts out there. I don't know if we have names. I don't even know if I'm comfortable throwing out names and all of that stuff. Here's a response from Dallas police. Our department is hurting. We have officers who are injured, who are in the hospital, and we lost one of our own. We asked tonight and this morning for thoughts and prayers for our city, for not only those who are recovering in the hospital, but for our fallen, for their family, and for their loved ones, and for us as a department as well. No, that was fucking stupid. That was tone deaf. I always yell at Trump for being tone deaf. I shouldn't have. That was a beautiful statement. There you go. All right. Jimmy Spell says there's good and bad like everywhere else. Yeah, there is. There's good and bad everywhere else. Are there evil cops? Fuck yeah, there are evil cops. Are there evil dog groomers? Fuck yeah, there are evil dog. So the idea that like everything is one thing is absolutely absurd. You have to go on case by case. All cops are bad. No, all cops are not bad. And I can tell you because I grew up around cops and I know a lot of them are very good people. I also know I do remember one particular cop, and he was always around, and he was an asshole. And he was a cop in West Haven. His name was Merle, holy fuck, what was his name? He was a bad cop. He should not have been a cop. His whole gig was he got off on harassing kids, like fucking with kids. He arrested me a bunch of times on nothing, just hanging out at the White Hen. put me in handcuffs, fuck me around. And let me tell you, every other cop in that community knew that son of a bitch was an asshole. It wasn't like he was welcomed into the other cop. No, he was a dick. He was a dick cop. And he stopped being a cop. He stopped being a cop when I was a senior in high school. And I remember we were all like, yeah, fuck that guy. Why did he stop being a cop? Probably got in trouble, but we were kids, so we didn't know. And the internet didn't exist, so there was no way to Google it. We were just like, oh, he's not a cop anymore? Cool. We can skateboard over at the municipal center again? Okay, cool. All right, there you go. Serious news out of Dallas. I'm sorry if my tone has been sort of up and down on this. All right, now let's talk about the other big story from yesterday. Kamalama Ding Dong gave her first sit down with the media, although it was with her buddy, old, what's his name? Tim Waltz. He sat there with her. He's the softener because she's a bitch. She's a bitch. She's a power chick. She's like, fuck you. This is what we're doing. I'm a bitch. She's a head, wave a finger, and all that kind of stuff. Wouldn't that be cool if she had like Kamala Harris? If Kamala Harris wasn't in the public spotlight the way that she is and wasn't expected to be a certain way, like if she was never like a California attorney general, if she was just like a lawyer or if she's just like a successful person in the private sector or whatever, do you think she'd have those long, crazy black lady nails? I bet she would. I bet she'd have long, crazy black lady nails. And I was watching her hands yesterday during the thing and I'm like, I bet she really wants to have long, crazy black lady nails. Those are cool. Those are cool. My friend's wife, Tyra, that's her name. She's got long, cool black lady nails. I haven't seen her in 3 years, but I used to always go, show me your long, cool black lady nails. And she's like, oh, you got to see it. It's a thing. It's a cultural thing in the black community. They're not practical. I don't know how. I mean, you can't get her to take the garbage out. That's what her husband, Ben, will tell you. But anyway. Kamala wants long, crazy black lady nails. I can tell. I can see it in her eyes. Anyway, she sat down. She sat down with Tim Waltz. It was widely disparaged before we actually got to see the interview by people on the right who accused her of ducking. She doesn't give solo interviews. Oh, she's going to shield herself with Tim Waltz. And then, as we talked about yesterday, as is much of the stuff from the extreme right or the extreme left, it was total bullshit just being screamed out loud by a bunch of people who don't understand the history, tradition, or how any of this shit works. They're just like, I don't understand that, and I'm going to yell and say something stupid. It's tradition for the first interview of a new ticket, a new coming out of a convention. It is tradition. Everybody did it. And she wasn't hiding. It's how the first interview is supposed to be. It's with her and the guy she chose, and they're introducing themselves in a sit-down one-on-one to the nation. Now, does she still need to sit down and do private one-on-ones? Yeah. And if she doesn't within the next 2 weeks, then I'm going to be right there with you going, what the fuck? But this is not typical of how these things go. She's a new candidate. She's only been a candidate for a couple of months. And quite frankly, she wasn't doing interviews before that because nobody gives a fuck about the vice president. We know this. That's why she doesn't have this long string of interviews. Nobody cares. Nobody thought she had any power. It's just Biden's administration. Nobody thought Pence had any power. You people on the fucking right, you act like now because she's running for president that she has been essentially the de facto president for the past 4 years. She's been vice president. Why hasn't she fixed all that? How much do you think fucking Pence did? Pence didn't do shit. Vice presidents don't do jack. Anyway, she sits down. Did you watch it? I didn't. I don't care. I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it. How'd she do? What do you think? No, never mind. I don't want to hear that because here's I can tell you. Adam will say she did great. Maybe some of the ladies will say she did great. Byron will call her something offensive. Not answer the question, just call her something offensive. And then Barney will go on with he'll clip and post some long thing, some screed. So why do we care? Why do we care? The lines have been drawn. If you're going to vote for Trump, you're already voting for Trump. If you're voting for Kamala, you're already voting for Kamala. Who are these fucking retards in the middle who are still like, I'm undecided? I have no idea what kind of human being I am. These two people are so diametrically opposed on everything. There should be nobody in the middle. Unless you're just in the middle going, hi, I'm really stupid, and I just don't understand any of this. I just see an orange man and a black lady. Oh, sorry, I see an orange man and a Southeast Asian, probably of Sri Lankan ancestry. Right? That's what you're supposed to say, because she doesn't look like a black woman. Yeah, 20 years ago, she tried to date your son. You'd probably identify her as a black woman. Oh, yeah. And then she'd be a black woman. When she's going to be the mother of your grandchildren, that's when suddenly she's a black woman. Ah! Fucking, that's the other bullshit thing. I did see that clip yesterday from it. I did see when, is it Dana Bash? I don't know about Dana Bash. Yeah, I've been looking at Dana Bash for about 10 years. I look at her and I'm like, I don't know if I would. I don't know. I've never seen a woman on TV be so meh. I don't know. Virtually every other woman who appears on CNN or Fox News or whatever, I can answer that question. Would you? I can answer it resoundingly. I can't with Dana Bash. I don't get her. I don't know. She's not unattractive, and she's not hot. She's Dana Bash. Anyway, Dana Bash asked Kamala. He asked her, Kamala Ding Dong, she. Dana Bash asked her, she said, what do you make of Trump saying that you only recently turned black? And Kamala Ding Dong was like, she got into the black girl on the bus thing. I told you, man, Trump doesn't know what's coming. Black girls on city buses are the scariest they're scary. Not as scary as 12-year-old white girls. 12-year-old white girls are some of the meanest creatures on this planet. But a 17-year-old black girl on a city bus, when you're like the lone, I'm just not going to say it. Anyway, she kind of went a little black girl on a bus, which is what I think Trump is not going to be able to handle, because that's a whole different kind of way to fight with somebody. He's never experienced it. He's experienced, Ivy League educated boardroom guys who he shares a country club membership with. That's who he's used to dissecting and beating the fuck out of. He's going to get one of these. What? Kamala, here's what you got to do. You got to go with the crazy long black lady nails for the debate. Only the debate. It will distract Trump to no end. Just be like, Donald, because you got to get that head going. You got to show him something that he's never fought before. He has never fought with a black woman before. Never. Why? Because every black woman Donald Trump has ever been associated with, he was paying. They worked for him. He thinks that all dealing with a black woman is going to be like dealing with the lady who cleans his toilets at the executive suites at Trump Tower. No. White man gonna get his ass handed to him. Anyway, she did the whole black lady thing. I ain't answer. Just a little bit. Not a whole lot, but we got a little bit of it. Dana Bash is like, what do you make of Donald Trump saying you only recently turned black? And she went, that's it. I saw it coming. She said, next question. Ooh! Next question. You want to push her? Black girls are tough, man. You don't get it. If you've never grown up around black girls, you don't understand how tough they are. They are not like little white girls. What? And there's a lot of white girls who are tough too. I'm just saying, pound for pound per capita, black girls are scary. So there you go. That's my take on the Kamala speech. Thank you. That's what you tune in for, right? Mikey D says, we'll go through this. We got time. It's a Friday. Let's see. We'll get some of you have some opinions on what we saw there. I didn't watch it. Like I said, didn't watch it. I was at my kid's football game. I don't care. Look, I pretty much get what she's going to be, right? I get what she's going to be. Oh, we need to get rid of that. Nope. Hold on. God. Hold on, I'm having a problem here. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. I need this to go away. Go away. Oh my God. I got a restream box just appeared over my entire fucking screen. I hate restream. I can't do anything. There's no X. There's no way to get it gone. Oh, this is a fun show. There it is. Yeah, there was an X. There was an X. I didn't see it because it's the new platform. Restream redid their whole thing. All right, let's go with some of these comments. Let's see. I asked if anybody saw it and what they thought. Jimmy Smells, he saw it. She said pro-life was immoral. Wait, what? Pro-life. What is pro-life? Pro-life is the people that, yeah. Okay. All right. Without knowing the context of that, pro-life is immoral. I mean, I can see the argument. Because I understand the left's argument on that. Let's see here. I mean, is not allowing someone to have complete autonomy over their own body and choices, is that a moral decision? I mean, if that's the position from which she's coming from, I would say, yeah, that if you are trying to deny anyone, individual, male or female, the autonomous right to make decisions about their body on any level, be it birth or cancer treatments, yeah, that's immoral. That is an immoral way of looking at it, that you know better. And you are so certain that you know better that you are going to stop another individual who has the same freedoms and liberties as you from making decisions about their own body. Yes, I can see how that could be perceived as immoral. So I don't understand the wait, what? And again, I didn't see the interview, so I don't know the context, but I just had to process that very quickly, and that's what I came up with. All right. Let's see here. My guy knows. Yeah, see, that's what I'm loving. I am feeding off the chaos. I am loving watching the right freak out with poll numbers and all that. And I'm loving watching the left be so cocky. The left has never really been cocky like this. And I enjoy it because the one thing that I do know about the left is that they are always ultimately disappointed. So you go get cocky, left. You keep strutting around like you think it's over. Let's see. And I also like to watch the people on the right because the people on the right are such assholes. That's the asshole class, right? The left is like the dipshit class. Like, fuck these, what the Jesus, their worst crime, like even the extreme left where their crimes are like Antifa and all that. Okay, I don't worry about that. Because the extreme right, their crimes are like, the Ku Klux Klan and the American Nazi. So that's a wash, right? But when you just get into like the people on the right are just loud, dumb, and angry. And that kind of upsets me because I'm like, really? There's that many human beings residing in America who are that loud, dumb, and angry? Wow. So that's upsetting. But on the left, they're just fucking dipshits who are so irritating that you just don't want to be around. Like, what are they? I think a woman should be able to transition into just stop it. This doesn't mean that much to you. Why are you so invested in? Why are you only talking about? Oh, God. I'm an ally. It's how I define myself. That's why we here every day, Monday through Friday, we gather in the middle. At least I hope some of us are gathering here in the middle. People who understand. Love the chaos. Love the chaos. Let's see. What else do we have? Mikey D, not a terrible idea here, says he thinks he's just going to write in Willie Nelson. Yeah, just write in some fucking nonsense. Just whatever. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And it really doesn't matter. Although the left and the right, both this election cycle, would have you believe that this is the most crucial election in history. We are going to be a communist nation under the thumb of China the day after Kamala Harris becomes president. Okay, so like that's their stupid pearl-clutching snowflake bullshit. But then the left is also like, it'll be the end of democracy. They'll get rid of the Constitution and there'll be a civil war. No, I don't think that's right either. Because in my entire life, I've heard variations of this rhetoric aimed at both political parties going all the way back to, well, I think the first time I would have noticed it was 1980, Reagan Mondale. One was a communist and the other was, an American hero. And guess what has happened in all of those subsequent administrations and campaigns followed by new administrations? Nothing has fucking changed in this country. Gas prices are always high. What else? Everything that happens at a major governmental level, I have no control of that anyway. So, nothing changes. So it doesn't matter. So go ahead. Do what Mike says. Write in Willie Nelson. Here's an idea. Christina, she says we need to tax the churches out of business for getting into politics. You're goddamn right we do. I don't know about for getting into politics. We need to tax the motherfucking churches. We need to tax the churches. Don't have a problem with that. You start taxing the churches like that, you'll see all of these. All of a sudden, there's not going to be like an evangelical church popping up in the closed GameStop at the strip mall down the street. It's all a money grab. Religion has become a money grab. This idea that they are pious and they are needed for the moral foundation of this great nation of ours is bullshit. It's bullshit. It's become a fucking shell game, religion in this country. So yeah, let's start taxing the fuck out of them. And that includes you, Catholic Church. Although, look at the Jews. How do you tax the Jews? What do they get? What do we got to tax like temples individually? Like you can tax the Catholic Church because they're like a big entity. They're a corporation basically, and you can tax the mega churches. Like if you wanted to go after this South Lake mega church gateway, you can tax them because they're a big giant company and all that. But how do you tax Jews? How do you go after the Jewish people? All right, you know what? I'm willing to just right here at the beginning say tax all religions except the Jewish people. Why? Because I think we're going to make a lot of money that we don't have anyway from taxing all the others, and I don't need the headache from the. They got lawyers. Those people have lawyers. Those people. What do you mean, Pugs? Those people. I mean people. We're talking about a specific religious group. The Jewish people. So in the context of the conversation I'm having with you, I don't think there is anything inherently racist about me saying those people as opposed to Methodists. Or evangelicals. I am ranting now, aren't I? This is fun. I like going through the chat room. I like having you people get more involved. Let's check in with my boy Barney. Barney says the churches should volunteer to give up their tax-free status to say what they want to say. Okay. Yeah, whatever. I like it. I absolutely, man. Yeah. I mean, I think we can all agree that there was a lot of money being made by people who have, in recent years, sort of exposed themselves to be a little bit more duplicitous than we ever had expected. It was fine when the big thing about churches was like scandals with prostitutes and sex and all that kind of stuff. But there's a powerful political lobby now that shrouds itself in religion and faith and all of the indemnification that comes with being a man of the cloth. And I think that's fucking bullshit. I think it's absolute bullshit. Let's see. Christina says Jews pay dues to their synagogues. That's the other thing about the Jews. They're so good at this stuff. Like I have a lot of Jewish friends. I come from Chicago. There's a lot of Jewish people there. You can't even see, that's perfectly acceptable. What Christina said, referring to them as Jews or the Jews. I always double clutch, like when I say that, even though I know it's the appropriate way to say it. Like even if I'm saying something like, the Jews are the best people God ever created. Even saying it that way, it just seems racist. It's like the Jews. And I think that's because historically, the Jews has always been followed by something really ugly. Something really So, but I guess that is the appropriate way to say. Like, you can't say the coloreds are some of the best dancers this world. Like, can you say that? Can't even say the coloreds anymore. I like the coloreds. I like that. I like it better than, and I don't think black people have a problem with that. And if they do, look, you don't need to explain yourself to me. I'll do whatever you want because I'm a white man and it's not that important. But colored people, that sounds more inclusive. That sounds like, you're talking about people of all different shades. We're basically talking about everybody that isn't white. And by the way, the word colored, that's a pretty word. It's a pretty word. Can't use it anymore. NAACP still uses it, so it can't be all bad. All right, we're done. We're just riffing now. We're just riffing. All right, let's move on. We've got more stories to talk about. Kamala gave her interview, and it was this is a funny one. This is going around. So there was a story going around now, and I don't know what to make of this stuff anymore because it's so obviously nonsense. But if you read the comments on some of these threads that have been posting this, people believe it. People are like, oh, well, you'll never hear this on CNN. So there is what is obviously, to me anyway, a joke post going around on Twitter. TikTok is where I first saw it. Probably Facebook as well. But it is an attempt to introduce a new Tim Waltz scandal. Apparently, Tim Waltz, old Ted Lasso, okie dokie dokie. That guy, he's evil. Yeah, he's evil. That guy, he's apparently did blackface. Did you see this? Tim Waltz did blackface back in college. So they're going to get him on that. Tim Waltz, big breaking news. Tim Waltz did blackface. And they even have the pictures. They show it. Here we go. This is the picture. This is the proof that right-wing Twitter and social media is putting out there. Motherfucker, where's the picture? God damn it. I hate all these pop-ups. I really do. Hate them. Okay, so here we go. They're not going to show the picture. What did they take it down? Because we're USA Today. And at USA Today, we don't engage in any misinformation. Yeah, right. Bullshit, you don't. USA Today, one of the hack journalist entities in America today. They don't pay anybody. They steal fucking story. Ugh. Here you go. Here you go. Proof positive. Tim Waltz wearing blackface. If you can't read it there, that's from American Liberty, which is a fairly significant. Well, actually, I don't know if that is. I should click on that. It says, here's Tim Waltz dressing in blackface years ago to amuse his student body alumni. What a great guy. I mean, is this the worst that you've ever seen? People believe it. Should we scroll through some of the... Well, now you can't because it's obviously been debunked. That is not Tim Waltz. That is the actor John Slattery, and it's obvious. He is playing... This is from Mad Men. This is a scene from the TV show Mad Men, and the right is so desperate to find something terrible about Tim Waltz that this is what they've been reduced to. So there you have it. So if you happen to see any pictures of Tim Waltz in blackface, you should know John Slattery. That is not him. And even if it was, let's pretend that it was. I don't think blackface is that bad. Ooh! Ooh, he said it! He said it! I don't think it's that bad. I think context is key in all things. And I think that the context and the motivation of the person performing in blackface is important. I think that, like, for instance, a really great example of this was Ted Danson. Ted Danson kind of is ground zero for the modern conversation about let's get all the awful people who wore blackface. This happened back in the 90s when Ted Danson was dating Whoopi Goldberg, and he showed up at a roast wearing blackface. And so what was Ted Danson's motivation? First of all, why would you be offended? Why might black people be offended by blackface? Well, I suppose it has a lot to do with, one, just starting off. Back in the early days of show business, black people were not allowed to perform on stage. So any roles that were of black people were performed by white people wearing blackface. So blackface became synonymous with the economic marginalization of the black people in America. Thank you. So maybe that's it. That's part of it. Part two of that could be, is it mockery? Is it just like, oh, boom, boom, I'm making fun of black people because is it punching down humor? Well, maybe in some cases, but that was not the case with Ted Danson. Ted Danson was responding with his blackface. I believe it was a situation where America was shocked. America was shocked that Ted Danson, Sam Malone from Cheers, would be dating black lady Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, this was the late 80s, early 90s. This was not a common thing, and certainly not common among celebrities. I mean, porn stars weren't even having sex with black guys yet. Ugh. You guys remember that? That was a real era. That was always one of my main questions that I would ask porn stars when we would have them in. We'd have porn stars come into the show back when we were doing the live 105.3 stuff. We'd have porn stars come in, and I would never be like, take your top off, sweetie. I always hated that. That was so gross. But I did talk to them about, the career and, the choices they made. And one of the questions I always asked if it was a white porn star, I would ask her, do you have sex with black men on film? It's an interesting question because the response in, let's say, 2003 is very telling. And 100% of the time, they would say, no, I do not have sex with black men on film. Why? Because back in 2003, 2004, 2005, the porn industry thought that if a white girl had sex with a black man, that it would somehow lessen her marketability with the mainstream white pervert crowd, which is so silly. Now, I'll have you know that most of these girls, they would jokingly answer with, not on film. Like, I'm not racist, but this is how I have to answer. So anyway, it was a different time. Interracial dating and all that kind of stuff wasn't really publicly accepted or common, maybe is the better word. So Ted Danson is dating Whoopi Goldberg, and Whoopi Goldberg is being roasted, and Ted Danson came out in blackface. I believe the context was something to do with, will America accept us now as a black couple? So whatever. Is Ted Danson a racist who should never work again because he was like, if Ted Danson ran for Senate in California, they would bring that up. Like, he can't be a senator. He's a racist, and we've got proof. Some people, like if you're a bunch of rich kids or rich white kids at some privileged East Coast Ivy League university and you're putting on a minstrel show where you and your privileged buddies are all up there like, well, our show hams do, you're doing that. That's a problem. That's more of the punching down stuff. But in general, I just do not think that blackface. Trudeau's a great example. Trudeau dressed like Jafar from, what was that, Aladdin? Trudeau's not, what is Jafar? What is he? Indian, Pakistani, sub-Asian, Kamala Harris-like? What is that? I don't know. So anyway, like in college at a costume party, he dressed as Aladdin. He's a racist. He despises people of color. Look, he dressed as Aladdin once. See, that's so stupid. You people are dumb. Anybody who uses that as some kind of a gotcha is like, oh, I see what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with a fucking moron. That's what you are. You think that supports your claim that he's obviously a racist, or are you just trying to win points in what has become discourse in this country? Nothing but a game of gotcha. And what aboutism? I can't tell you. I post something on Twitter that is critical of Trump, and I will just get a million people going, what about? No, okay, we'll get to that. But what about this? Address my point. Tell me what you think of this. Don't just try and excuse it because you have other examples of people doing similarly stupid things. No, we're talking about this. What about? Tony Soprano once said that remember when is the lowest form of human conversation. Well, Tony had never been engaged in a Twitter battle with somebody who was doing, what about? Well, you're autistic, aren't you? You're on the spectrum. Because you can't stay dialed in to what we're talking about. You need to change the subject with, what about? Shut the fuck up. We all know everybody's crooked. Address what we're talking about here. All right. Anyway, Tim Walsh did not appear in blackface. That is John Slattery, the actor. It is a still from Mad Men. And if you can't tell that from just looking at it, you shouldn't be allowed to vote anyway. Fucking weirdo. Let's see here. Here's another sad story. This is a really sad story. I wish I was more of a hockey fan. I don't know much about hockey, and so I don't know much about this guy. I don't even know that I've ever heard his name, but NHL player Johnny Gaudreau and his brother were killed bicycling yesterday. This is a really sad story. Apparently, like, I'm not a big hockey guy, but apparently he's a good hockey player. Apparently he's a well-known hockey player. Let me give you the story here because it's not a fun story. NHL player Johnny Gaudreau, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but again, I don't watch a lot of hockey. Now, since the Blackhawks dynasty imploded, I stopped watching hockey. NHL player Johnny Gaudreau and his younger brother were killed Thursday night when they were hit by a suspected drunken driver while riding bicycles in their home state of New Jersey. Gaudreau, 31, and his brother Matt, 29, are Carneys Point, New Jersey natives and were scheduled. Oh, God. Wow. See, this is the worst detail. This is NHL hockey player Johnny Gaudreau and his brother are riding bikes last night in New Jersey. They got hit and killed by a drunk driver. They don't live there. This is their hometown. This is where they grew up. They both moved on. He's a big-time hockey player. He probably lives in Malibu or something. I don't know. But he and his brother, they're riding their bikes last night. And in their hometown. And you know why they were riding their bikes last night through their hometown, where they don't live anymore, either one of them? Because tomorrow is their sister's wedding and their groomsmen in the wedding. Holy fuck, man. I mean, it's terrible. Hockey fans are mourning the death of this guy. And I'm sure that there were people out there who loved the little brother, who I don't think was a professional hockey player, but still dead. But, there's a whole other thing where you've got to be like, God damn, this woman's wedding is ruined. Like what should have been the most, the memories of, your wedding day and all this stuff. And she can't get married now. I mean, do you cancel? Do you not have the wedding? I think you don't have the wedding, right? I know it's a financial hit. You're going to lose everything. You're going to lose all the oh my God. You can't go through with the wedding. You can't go through with the wedding. 2 people who were supposed to be in the wedding are dead. You've got plans to make now. You've got to do funerals and wakes. You can't. Oh, this is a terrible story. Terrible for this family. I mean, I'm getting very microscopic about this. I mean, the greater sadness is, of course, that a beloved NHL player has been killed by a drunk driver while riding his bike with his brother yesterday. Police said the driver, 43-year-old Sean M. Higgins, was suspected of being under the influence of alcohol and charged with 2 counts of death by auto, along with reckless driving, possession of an open container, and consuming alcohol in a motor vehicle. He was jailed at the Salem County Correctional Facility. According to the criminal complaint obtained by the AP, Higgins told a responding officer that he had 5 or 6 beers prior to the crash and admitted to consuming alcohol while driving. He failed a field sobriety test, the complaint said, though his blood alcohol level was not immediately available. So here's how the accident occurred. The 2 brothers, Johnny Gaudreau, NHL hockey player, and his brother were riding their bicycles on the shoulder, where you always see bicycles on the shoulder. It was a 2-lane or 1 lane in each direction highway. Is that called a 2-lane? I never know how to word that. 2-lane to me seems like it should be 2 lanes going in each direction. So a 1-lane highway would mean, right? It's a 1-lane highway, and they're riding their bikes on the shoulder. And apparently there was cars were moving too slow for old Higgins, the drunk driver. And so he tried to pass on the shoulder. He whipped out from behind a truck, it says, and accelerated onto the shoulder and ran right over Johnny Gaudreau and his little brother. Right there on the shoulder. Killed him. Ran him right down. Drunk fucking driving, man. So that's very sad. Who did he play for? Do we know who he played for? I don't know. I wish at these moments I would see. This is why I can't do sports talk, because I just don't have enough hockey knowledge. Oh, what's that? Even high-level sports talk, they don't do hockey. Okay, that's good. They don't do hockey. You never see hockey. You got to go to the hockey channel to get hockey. You ain't gonna get hockey on Get Up or Breakfast Ball or whatever it is that you want. Speak Out. They don't do hockey. Nobody cares about hockey. Hockey, they claim hockey is it's the 4th major sport. I don't think it is. I think hockey is very minor. I think, first of all, NASCAR is much bigger than hockey. Why isn't NASCAR considered well, probably because it's not a geographic sport. You can't have a team. Team NASCAR. There you go. Team car racing. Oh, wait a second. That's not going to work. Jesus, I got to dial in. This is my problem. I have a million good ideas, and they all get going to some degree. And then they all fail because I'm not focusing on one of them. That's it. The reason I am in this position in my life is because I'm too smart. I'm too smart. All right, what else do we have here? Seriously though, city-based team car racing. Like instead of rooting for the Pennzoil car or whatever, I don't know, you can tell I don't watch a whole lot of NASCAR. Instead of rooting for like that, why wouldn't you root for like the car from Fort Worth versus the car from, I don't know. You don't know how this works, do you? I don't know how it works. I don't. Cheryl Hines is in the news. Cheryl Hines, any fans of Curb Your Enthusiasm? I am. I love that show. Cheryl Hines is the actress who played Cheryl David, the wife for like the first thing you need to know about Curb Your Enthusiasm is that I think it ran on HBO for 73 years. And for about the first 48 years, I think Cheryl Hines was the wife of Larry David. And then they got divorced, and then so whatever. Anyway, can I just say this? Cheryl Hines was always the absolute worst thing about Curb Your Enthusiasm. I mean, when I first started watching Curb Your Enthusiasm, I thought this show is hysterical. Oh my God, the conversation, the situational awkwardness that this show mines for is just brilliant. I love it. And so the first time I'm watching it, I probably didn't pay much attention to Cheryl. I was like, whatever, he needs a wife. She's neither interesting nor a magnetic personality I can do without her or whatever. Then I started to rewatch over the years different episodes, and I've run through Curb Your Enthusiasm a time or two. I've probably seen the first 5 seasons 4 times all the way through. Here's what I started to realize. She was a bitch. She was absolutely awful. She was, if you watch her, if you really pay attention to her character on Curb Your Enthusiasm, she never supports Larry. She is always upset about, money is a big thing with her, like keeping up appearances and all this shit. When we know from her backstory that she was a failed actress, okay? She was a waitress, and Larry David, the co-creator of Seinfeld, comes into her life, and now all of a sudden she's living in Malibu and complaining about this and that. Anyway, she's awful. You watch it the second time through, you're like, that chick's a bitch. So, having established my feelings for Cheryl Hines as being the worst thing about Curb Your Enthusiasm, she's in a bit of a pickle because she still considers herself in some way, shape, or form to be a functioning actress, and she probably doesn't want to give up on his acting. Now, she delusionally convinced herself over the past couple of months that maybe there was an outside chance that she could be the first lady of the United States because, of course, she's married to RFK Jr. in real life. So she was like, okay, so my husband's running for president. Maybe I don't have to keep slugging it out and trying to be an actress and all this kind of stuff. But that didn't work out. He's not going to be president. She knows that now. And so now she needs to get back into Hollywood's good graces. And I'm telling you, RFK Jr. stringing his horse up to the Trump caravan did not help her with casting directors. She's upset. She's been taking all kinds of shit. So RFK Jr. has put out a statement regarding his wife and about his decision to support Donald Trump. Here's what they have to say. RFK Jr. says his endorsement of Trump is a really difficult issue for his wife, actress Cheryl Hines. No, I don't want the app. Don't make me fucking get the app. Are you fucking kidding me? There you go. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says his wife, actress Cheryl Hines, is not on board with his support for Donald Trump. Speaking with TMZ, Kennedy said he had endorsed the former president against his wife's wishes, calling it a really difficult issue for her. But if you know anything about me, Robert Kennedy Jr., I don't give a fuck what my wife thinks. Just check the track record. He did it anyway. Of course he did. Of course he did. He didn't give a shit. My God, think about what a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. must be. Let me tell you this. I grew up the child of a man who was murdered, a man who was slain, okay? There was a whole lot of, obviously there's a gaping hole in my life as a human being. But in the moment, because of that fact, there was a lot of sympathy that went my way. There were a lot of people who cut me slack on things. As a kid growing up, it's like, oh, he's the poor little boy without the daddy. You know what I mean? There was a way to milk that. Once you figured out how you could, hey, God took my dad away from me. I may as well use it for something, right? RFK Jr. had that his whole life, but also he was a Kennedy. He had that, and his 20s were him walking into bars and being a Kennedy with every hot chick and all. He had that life. So fuck that guy. that guy's life. Anyway, he's not good with women is my point. Just, look at his history. This is the opposite of what she would want me to do, he said about his wife. She went along with it because she loves me and she wanted to be supportive of me, but it was not something that she ever encouraged. Kennedy said his wife had encouraged him out of compassion to accept an invitation to meet with Trump after the July assassination attempt. He said she then attended a meeting he had with Trump. Oh, look at what he's doing. Oh, this is some fucking masterful manipulation. We're getting to see what kind of person RFK Jr. is in his mind. Look, I've always told you, I think he's a bad dude. I think he's always been a bad dude. He's like the worst of the Kennedys. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot of fucking ne'er-do-wells in that family. But here's what we're learning from this. So he's talking to TMZ. I promise you, at the behest of his wife, who's really pissed. She's like, you better go out and you better start telling people that I'm not down with this because I've got an audition next week and I'm not even going to get through the door if they think I'm a MAGA. Right? That's what she probably told him. So he goes, no problem, baby. I'll get on TMZ. So RFK Jr. calls up old Harvey and he's like, I want to talk to you about my wife. And Harvey's like, okay. So he gets in with TMZ and he starts saying, look, she is in no way responsible for any of this. She does, or no, that's not what he's saying. What he's saying is she's not down with this. She doesn't like him. She's a Hollywood actress. She's, but sometimes we disagree, blah, 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 blah. But then here's the master manipulation from this piece of shit. He then tags it with this. He basically says it was her fault, that she's the one that encouraged him after the assassination attempt to go meet with him, that it would be good PR. And then he met with him and he's saying, and that's when I decided that I liked him. So you see, it's actually my stupid wife's fault. Don't kill yourself, honey. That would be terrible. He's a garbage human being. She's also a piece of shit, but she's an actress. We knew that going in. Yeah, actresses are all pieces of shit. With a few exceptions, of course. But just across the board, if you are like dating a girl and she's an actress and not famous, there are a whole lot of actresses who aren't famous and they're even worse. Because if Scarlett Johansson was like a real bitch to date, you'd put up with it because it's Scarlett Johansson. But when it's just some chick who does community theater in Arlington, oh my God. And she's just as dramatic and she's just as... I need to stop with my hatred of actresses. I really do. Got a problem with them. There's something wrong with women who want to be actresses. I do draw a distinction, though, between actresses and comedic actresses. Comedic actresses, that's different. They're just funny broads. Those are just funny broads. That's a different thing. Speaking of funny broads, this is a story coming out of my old stomping grounds, Chicago, but it's made the national news. I saw a big blurb on Fox News. They were talking about it last night. Amy Jacobson. I don't know if you guys don't know, and you shouldn't know who she is. Amy Jacobson was a TV news anchor and correspondent for NBC in Chicago. She was fairly high profile. She wasn't one of these multi-million-dollar news anchors. I'm Shannon Davis. It's the 10 o'clock news. She wasn't one of those, but she was like, holidays. She's doing the 10 o'clock. She was visible. She was a visible, high-profile reporter. And here's the other thing that I liked about her. She was hot. She was really hot. Amy Jacobson was really hot. I used to call her the Ice Princess because she looks like some kind of a Viking, Nordic... I don't know what she is, but she was hot. And when I say this, we're talking about the mid-1990s, late 1990s, when she was like 22 years old and she was a new news reporter, and she was hot. Amy Jacobson. Amy Jacobson is making some news. She lost her gig at Channel 5, NBC. She lost her gig as a local news reporter there because she did something really bad. There was this dude who, So there was this woman, I think her name was Lisa Stubbick. There was a woman named Lisa Stubbick in the Chicagoland area who went missing. I don't know if this was before or after Drew Peterson, but whatever. She was another missing mom. And it was a big news story locally. Where is Lisa Stebick? Where is Lisa Stebick? Now, of course, everybody's looking at her husband. It was like, well, why don't you don't seem all that upset? So everybody was looking at Craig Stebick is maybe the guy responsible. I don't know. It seemed, the husband's always the guy. And Amy Jacobson was the reporter for NBC who was assigned to cover this case. And as I say, it was a big case. Went on for months. We're still searching for Lisa Stebick. They never found her. By the way, here we are. It's like 20-something years later. They never found her. They never found her. If that dude, Craig Stebick, killed his wife, he got away with it, at least for the last 20 years. They never found Lisa Stebick. Where's her podcast? Hey. Maybe we got to do a Lisa Stebick podcast. All right. Where in the world is Lisa Stebick? So anyway, Amy Jacobson, who's covering the Lisa Stebick missing person story for NBC, she decides that she's going to utilize some of her reporter skills and she's going to get the scoops. And over the course of a couple of days, she starts having all of these crazy, crazy scoops, inside things that bear out to be true, things that nobody else knew. How is she doing it? Is she the greatest reporter of all time, or is she blowing the husband? What is she? Is she seducing and having sex with the husband? Well, that was never proven, but what was proven, CBS News, who was competing with her for this story and couldn't understand how she was getting so much information that the others didn't, they decided to follow her, NBC News reporter Amy Jacobson, around. So they followed her around and they caught her attending a bikini pool party in the backyard of the missing woman, Lisa Stebick. Oh, and it was such a scandal. So she got jettisoned from NBC. She lost her career on TV because she's obviously a big goof. It's a big goober. And what did she do? Well, she resurfaced a couple of years later as one half of a morning show on an AM talk radio station in Chicago. I think it's called WIND? I'm not sure. It is such a non-important station. I mean, I would be shocked if at any given moment in the morning they have more than 1,000 listeners. I would be shocked. Now, I know I'm streaming here and I don't even have that, but whatever. We're not on the radio and we're not in the major market. We're in the design district here in Dallas, streaming to a bunch of friends. So anyway, she's on this very dumb, unimportant AM radio station. I think it's the Jesus station. I think it's it's a very right-wing political talk station in Chicago. And so nobody listens to it and it's absolute garbage, but she's the morning show host and she's the morning show host with Dan Proft. Now, that's the backstory on Amy Jacobson. We know about her and her scandalous TV career, and we also know that a young Pugs would look at Amy Jacobson and go, she's hot, really hot. She got in trouble last week during the Democratic National Convention. Here's why she got in trouble. She went on the air the next morning after the whole Gus Waltz thing. Remember Gus Waltz? That's my dad! Remember that whole thing? And we found out the kid was like, not, there are problems. We found out there were some issues with that poor kid. And we were all like, oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. And I know a lot of you were like, that's gay. Well, you people fucking suck, okay? Or you have a terrible relationship with your father. Because I think most normal people looked at that and went, wow, that's really fucking sweet. That's no. But if you're a broken person, you're like, that's so gay. That's what a bunch of you people were like. Anyway, she was one of those people. Amy Jacobson was one of those people. She went on the morning show, her show with Dan Proft the next day, and she started ranting. Why? Because, I don't know, it's a morning show. She's probably got to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. She didn't get to find out that the kid was actually a special needs kid. So here's what she had to say. The lovely Amy Jacobson on, it's WIND, I think. Anyway, here it is. Let's listen.
Can somebody get Gus Wallace some Ritalin?
Well, he's excited. That's my dad. That's my dad. And he was crying, too. That's my dad, not your dad. That's my dad.
I mean, you know what it reminded me of?
What?
The capital of the civilized world.
I love you.
It should be, and it will be so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love my mayor.
We have it within our power to...
Chris Farley is Andrew Giuliani on Saturday Night Live when Giuliani was inaugurated, and Andrew
Oh, that's right. The kid
stole
was
the show because he was all over.
He's precocious.
Chris Farley, may he rest in peace, climbing all over Kevin Nealon playing Giuliani. Yeah,
that's my dad.
That's exactly what that Wallace kid did. I mean, he's not 11; he's 17 years old. He's out of his seat. He's bawling with the Dad, I love you, Dad. And then she goes, Papa Bear's coming home, Gus. What the hell was that?
For me,
come on. That is. I mean, I don't like go after family members unless they invite themselves into the arena like Hunter Biden did. But I mean, it's just weird. It's weird. Use Tim Walz's word against him. It's just what the heck?
For me, the weirdest part was when he had football players. He had football players.
Okay, so there you go. It's just a conversation among two people who are obviously broken, horrid people. They're either broken and horrid, or they're obviously carrying water for one partisan agenda. Their job is to go in there and find something awful about it. Now, I don't know if that's authentic. If they authentically thought that was awful and it was worthy of mockery, then they're broken pieces of shit. And I think that Amy Jacobson probably is a broken piece of shit. But that clip, and it's going around, and things have happened, and this is not, still the reason I'm talking about it, I haven't mentioned yet. That clip I don't think is that bad. I don't think there's any problem with that clip. If I was the program director of that station, well, I'd probably be a piece of shit, because I don't think I could work for that station group because of what they require of their hosts. But if I was the program director, I'd listen to that and I'd go, yeah, okay. I can see how if you're a snowflake pussy who loves their parents, you might have a problem with it. But, not a normal person who, knows their fucking dad's an asshole like us. Is that the attitude? Okay, whatever. People are allowed to have that attitude. I didn't find anything particularly wrong with that. However, some other people did. And it was revealed that Amy Jacobson is the girls or boys volleyball. I didn't even think boys volleyball. The boys volleyball coach at a local high school. And that Dan Proft, the guy in that situation, he sits on the board of a major special needs charity. Now, the high school has since fired her from being a coach among kids due to parental outcry and a whole bunch of other things. And Dan Proft has lost his gig on the board of this special needs thing. Now, here's what I don't have audio of, but I will. I'll try and find it. Maybe we'll play it. Although Monday the story might be too old. Apparently they went on the air today after losing her job, her side hustle as a coach, and him losing his position on a board for special needs kids. Apparently they came on today and just were like, well, we didn't know. If it had been reported that they had special needs, we certainly would never have. No, you went mean because you cater to an audience who is entertained by cruelty. That's the choice that you and your programmers have made. You are going to do content that is perfect, where it's perfectly acceptable to mock some kid and their love for their father. Now, again, the intent there isn't to make fun of a retarded kid or someone with a mental disability. Or that wasn't the intent, because they didn't know that. And I believe that they didn't know that. So let's take that off the board. So they're not evil for making fun of. What they are is they've revealed themselves to be people who do not think, actually they've revealed themselves to be people who, in their words, think it's weird for a son to be proud of his father who's standing on stage at a major political convention accepting the party's nomination for vice president. That's weird for a kid to be. I mean, that's the choice they made. That's the choice they made. And why did they make that? Because they've somehow come up with a metric that says that there's a lot of people out there who are going to also agree with that. It's fucking weird. If my kid told me he loved me and was proud of me, I'd fucking put him back in the hot box. Fucking kids, would you love me? What are you, a little fag? You love me? People are broken, man. That was a beautiful moment. So anyway, she lost her side hustle as a basketball coach. He's been kicked off a board of directors, and they're both currently on the air as of this morning going, oh, I'm so sorry. They're not going to lose their gigs. They can't lose their gigs. They've been on the air for like 10 years, and they've got 1,000 listeners, okay? Obviously, there is money behind that station that's keeping it there because it's not surviving on listenership. There you go. That's my take on Amy Jacobson. Christina says it was obvious that Walt's kid was special needs. I don't know that that's fair to say. Because I don't know that when I saw it, I don't think that I thought he was special needs. I thought that he was just really fucking having a breakdown. And also the special needs, I'm only calling it that because I don't know what nonverbal whatever is. I don't know the severe. I don't know it. I'm ignorant. But if you're telling me that the kid is in special classes, goes to a special, that's all I need to know. Okay, there's something wrong with him. By the grace of God, I don't have a child who has any of those things. So, but anyway, there you go. What I love about this is that they're not going to lose their job. I mean, I think that anybody, I don't think they should lose their job. I don't think that anybody should lose their job for something like that, especially when they're doing a radio show that is openly catering to people who have, bad vibes, like bad vibe people. That's what they want. They're like, we're number one with people with bad vibes. We're Amy and Dan. number one among the asshole class. I don't know. They're not. It's a terrible radio station. You can check it out for yourself. Look at the ratings if you don't trust me. But they do. They exist in Chicago. Well, what do you expect for Chicago? Okay, shut up, dummy. Chicago's got WLS, which is a major talk station, and it's a very right-wing conservative station. Chicago's got multiple AM right-wing stations. WIND is like the little idiot one. That's the little one that nobody cares about. WLS is very big. Big station, iconic station. It's the Rush Limbaugh station from the Midwest. Chicago's got nothing but liberal talk. Nobody has liberal talk. There is no such thing as liberal talk. Do you remember that Air America? Remember when the liberals tried to start their own radio thing to counter AM talk radio? Air America was so bad. You know what they did? Here's me. Can I put on my little programming cap again? Okay, here's what Air America did that was wrong. Air America went, we're going to create the liberal version of Rush Limbaugh and his success with his Limbaugh stations, which is what we know today as typical AM talk radio. So they went out there and they hired nothing but pretentious, condescending, elitist New York personalities, and Al Franken. Al Franken, he's mass appeal. Al Franken is totally mass appeal. He's like Carrot Top, really. You go see Al Franken is not mass appeal. Al Franken is a very funny guy, but he's a very intellectual, very dry, very satirical, and even absurdist. Not somebody that I would hire as the cornerstone for fucking a different kind of talk radio. But they did. They went with that. Let's get Al Franken. Then they went and got Janine Garofalo, who is so unbelievably irritating. And that's the other thing. Janine Garofalo, we're going to let you helm a major nationally syndicated radio show. Oh, you've never done radio before? You don't understand how chemistry and the mics work and the board and all that? Oh, that's okay. We're going to give it to you anyway. Anyway, Air America fucking sucked. It's where Rachel Maddow came from, though, right? And that where she came from, I think that she was like a producer on one of the shows there. I don't know. I ain't pining for liberal talk. I am pining for the destruction of conservative talk, or at least some kind of opening, an opening of the conversation that's allowed to be had. I know of what I speak here. A little update on The Apprentice film. The Apprentice film is the movie about Donald Trump and his relationship as an apprentice to Roy Cohn. The character of Roy Cohn is being played by Kendall from Succession. What's that guy's name? That guy's an asshole. The guy who plays Kendall. He's an a-hole. Nobody likes him. Can't think of his name. Anyway, he's an awesome actor. I mean, he is an awesome actor. He's got like this Brando kind of thing where nobody can stand to be around him, but he is undeniably talented in the roles. What's his name? Jeremy? We'll go with Frost. We're going to go with Jeremy Frost. I know that ain't it. I know that's not it. We're going to go with it. All right, so he plays Roy Cohn, who's a real historic piece of shit. Just go ahead and Wikipedia that guy. And Roy Cohn was Donald Trump's mentor. So that's what this film, get it? Because Donald Trump had a show called The Apprentice, and this show is going to show what Donald Trump was like when he was essentially an apprentice. Daniel Snyder, the disgraced former owner of your Washington Redskin Commanders, he was one of the guys involved in the financing of the film. And then when the film was finished and released at Cannes, he saw it and he's like, my friend Donald Trump's being made fun of. And so he raised a big stink. Daniel Snyder did. And there was some concern that this would affect the distribution of the film and all that kind of stuff. And apparently Daniel Snyder's loyalty to Donald Trump was as deep as whatever his initial investment was, because they just gave him the initial investment back. And he's like, okay, that's fine. You can release the movie. But wait, Daniel Snyder, I thought this was about you protecting your buddy Trump. You just wanted your money back? And that's okay. So anyway, the film is expecting a fall release. Let me tell you what the latest is here. I'm very interested in it. Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, or Tommy Lee. Did you see Pam and Tommy on Hulu? Sebastian Stan is playing Donald Trump. It looks very interesting. Oh, and also Maria Bakalova. I don't know what her name is. Maria Baka, whatever. She's you see Borat's subsequent movie film? Remember the girl who played Borat's daughter? She was awesome. The girl who lured Rudy Giuliani into a hotel room for like a little afternoon delight. That chick, she's playing Ivanka. So you got Tommy Lee, or the Winter Soldier, the chick from the Borat movie, and then Jeremy Frost from Succession, Kendall from Succession. It's going to be good. Hot button Donald Trump movie, The Apprentice, is still poised for a pre-election release, despite financier dispute. So the Daniel Snyder situation has been resolved. They just gave him his money back and he stopped being loyal to Trump. And so now it's just going to come out and we'll see. Oh, well, so we'll check that out. I'm very interested in that stuff. I love that kind of shit. What else can I mention here? Here's a sad note. No, I'm not going to mention. I don't need to mention that. Want to watch some video? Let's watch some video. I got a couple of videos that we can do some video breakdowns here. This one I call Asshole Kid. I posted this to my Twitter account yesterday. It got some pretty nice responses, so I thought I'd show it to you folks and we could break it down and watch it. Here's all you need to know for context. This seems to be a kid hanging out in an apartment complex, and the police show up. And this is how the kid talks to the police. You'll see how this whole situation unfolds, but all I can tell you as a father of a 15-year-old boy, I mean, I watched this as the father of a 15-year-old boy, and I just think, if my kid did this, like if I saw a video of my kid doing this, it would irreversibly change the way I feel about my son, and it would irreversibly alter who as a person I thought my son was, because this is just this kid's father, man. All right, here you go. Let's watch this. This is police again rolling up on an apartment complex where he's met by a young man
regarding a disturbance in the parking lot.
What's up, man?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
What car you in?
I ain't in any of these
Let's
cars.
go. Then you got to get out. Let's go.
Nah, I don't got to go nowhere.
You live here?
I don't got. Yeah, I live here. You don't got.
Okay, what's
what
your
you walking
address?
up on me like that for? What's up?
What's your address?
Take that vest off. Come on.
Take that vest off for me.
Come on. Take that vest off. You know. Come on. Take that.
All right, so let me just pause it here. Because up until this point, up until the take that vest off, come on. I mean, this kid is openly challenging this police officer to a fight. The kid is saying, like, and by the way, that's that other Hollywood belief that if a police officer just takes his badge off, he ceases being a police officer. No, it's not how. Take the badge off. All right, it doesn't fucking have anything to do with anything else. Well, what now? So that this kid, up until this moment, though, aside from the shitty attitude and a really ill-advised manner of going about it, he's doing nothing wrong. A police officer rolls up on you and says, "Where do you live? Give me your ID." You just say, "Fuck you." Well, no, that's the problem. No, you don't say "fuck you." You say, "I'm sorry, officer, but I don't think that that's required under the law." You do not have to identify yourself to a police officer. Now, most of us Most of us normal people, we will. We'll just do it because we understand that I don't need to be in an argument with a cop. I haven't done anything wrong. Here you go. You need this. So this kid is kind of, he's utilizing what he's probably seen in any number of YouTube videos where people are dicks to cops and, because they're right on what the law is. They know what the law is. A lot of times the cops don't. There's a lot of things that cops do that they ask that you don't have to say yes to, but because, you would not admire, but you somehow you understand that they are. You'll answer a cop's question. I'll answer a cop's question. But then again, I'm a white dude. I don't know. People say it's different. I grew up around cops. I know cops. So anyway, right up until this point, the kid was kind of legally in the right. He doesn't need to tell the cop where he lives. He doesn't need to give the cop any ID. He doesn't need to tell the cop why he's there. That's none of the cop's business. He's got freedom. He's a citizen. He doesn't have to answer to anybody for what he's doing unless he's doing something wrong. And at this point, he's not doing anything wrong. Although we don't know why the cop's there. The cop may be in the process of an investigation, which alters this whole thing just a bit. But to my point, the kid's not doing anything wrong until now, where he's openly challenging this cop to a fight.
You gotta get out. Let's go.
Nah, I don't gotta go nowhere.
You live here?
I don't got. Yeah, I live here. You don't got.
Okay,
what
what's
you
your
walking up on me like that for? What's up?
What's your address?
Take that vest off. Come on.
Take that vest off for me.
Come on. Take that vest off. Come on. Take that shit off. Let's get it.
All right,
Let's get it, bro. What's up? What's up?
Do me a favor.
Take that shit off. Take that shit off. Laugh like you're not a bitch.
Do me a favor.
Like you're not a bitch. Take that shit off. Come on. Not take that shit off. Let's get it.
Where do you live?
Your partner here like he's gonna do something. You ain't gonna do shit.
Where do you live, man?
I live right here. There ain't nothing about
What's
it.
your address?
Do something about it.
Huh?
How about that? Take your shit off and do something about it.
I mean, just this picture right here. This fucking cop would break this little bitch in half. But again, he seems to be, he's in this moment, like there's a lot of bad cops out there. Again, this is how you know, good cop, bad cop. He's not being drug into it until he has no choice but to be drug into it, right? He's smiling. He's like, look at this little punk. What is going on here? Is there a camera? Is this candid camera? Is this punk? Where's Ashton Kutcher?
I won't.
Like you what? Like you want what?
I ain't gonna say nothing on that camera.
What
So
do
I'm
you
saying,
do?
take
What do
that
you
off.
do? What do you
Take
do?
it off and you see.
Okay,
Take
take
it off
out
and
the
you
seat.
see. Yeah.
Let me get your ID.
You ain't gonna get shit.
Okay.
Take it off and you see. Well, what you laughing for? I'm writing your shit. Take it off.
There it goes. That's it. Totally justified.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
All right, let me show you where it's totally justified. Okay, here's where it's justified. Look at this kid. The kid steps into the officer's personal space. The minute the kid gets into his personal space, that officer has the right to think that he is now being aggressively charged by a suspect or by somebody that he's speaking with. This cop is in the right to, at that point, when this kid steps into him, to take him down to the ground and secure the scene. You might look at that and go, well, that cop didn't have to do that. Yeah, he did, because we live in a world where we don't know that this fucking kid doesn't have a gun behind him. He's not adhering to any of the questions from the cop. This kid is obviously going to be a problem, and the scene must be secured. This is a beautiful takedown too, by the way. Look, he used a left leg sweep, takes the kid crumbles, because of course he's a pussy.
Okay, take out the seat.
Yeah.
Let me get your ID.
You ain't gonna get
Here's the
shit.
step. Watch the kid step to him.
Take it off and you see. Well, what you laughing
There
for?
he
I'm
is.
writing your
There's the
shit.
step.
Take it off.
The kid even said, what are you laughing for? I'm writing your shit. And he like steps into him. He steps right into his shit. And the cop, without missing a beat, goes, yep, you're down now. That's it.
Take it off and you see. Well, what you laughing for? I'm writing your shit. Take it off.
I love it.
Put your hands behind your back.
I love it.
Put your hands behind your back. Stop resisting. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
I'm a minor.
So why'd you get in my face? What, you gonna hit me?
No, sir.
Huh?
Oh, sir.
So why'd you get in my face then? I told you stop balling up your fist, right?
I did.
Okay, so why'd you get in my face? All right, stand up.
Not me too, sir.
Hey, you doing the head? Back up. Hey, back up.
Back up, back up.
Stand by real quick. Do you have anything
Listen.
else in your pocket? Anywhere,
Sir,
anybody? No?
I'm checking anyways. I'm
Okay.
sorry and I apologize.
I'm sorry and I apologize. This fucking kid got a wake-up call. This kid thought there ain't nothing cops can do. I'm a minor. I can talk any way I want. I can step right into their grill. No, you can't, kid. No, you can't. I do love this, though. I love the world just revealed itself to this kid. And in this moment, he realizes that he is fucking nothing. That he is nothing, and that his little shitty attitude towards a person in a position of authority is not going to get him anywhere in this world other than the backseat of a police car. I love the contrition.
Stand by real quick. Do you have anything else in your pocket?
No,
Anywhere,
sir.
anybody? No?
I'm checking anyways. I'm sorry and I apologize.
You're good. Well, I respect you as a man for, saying you're sorry, but...
No, man to man, I'm sorry.
Gotta do what we gotta do. Just have a seat for me.
Right here?
No, over here.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm right here. I'm sorry.
Have a seat. Put your feet inside.
Joey.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, this little bitch says. I wonder if that's also a part of his whole brand. Like, is he apologizing because he is sincerely embarrassed, humbled, and wants to make right a situation that he understands he caused? I don't know. If that's the authentic reason for the sorry, fine. Or is he just one of these kids who's never had to suffer the repercussions of his actions? And that's because he always just apologizes. And he's always just, oh, you're sorry? Oh, that's okay, baby. That's fine. Like, is that what he's trying to do here? Like, does he think the cop's going to let him go now because he's saying he's sorry? I fucking hate that kid. Ugh, I hate that kid. All right, how about this? Let's see one more video. I want to show one more video because I talked about this the other day. And again, this goes back to the asshole class and the type of person who is broken and has a problem with like real humanity, being confronted with it. Maybe they weren't hugged very much by their parents as a child. Maybe they were raised by assholes. There are assholes out there. You know it. You drive on these streets. You are surrounded. How many times a day are you like, look at that asshole? I mean, the whole world is filled with assholes. Not us, because assholes wouldn't hang out with us this way every day, noon. The world is filled with assholes. And the asshole crowd came out after this happened on TV earlier this week. I talked about it. It's the Ian Wheeler situation from Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks is a television show on HBO that's about football. They happen to be focused on the Chicago Bears this season. And Ian Wheeler is a running back who the Hard Knocks cameras have been following for a number of episodes now. They've been following him. He's an interesting story. Of course they're going to follow him. When you look at the entire roster and you look at the stories of the individuals as an HBO producer, you set a few aside because you think, oh, there's something interesting there. What's interesting about Ian Wheeler? He's really smart. He's a genius. He's a Howard. What's that? Is that Howard? Howard? It's not Harvard. It's Howard. Is that the historically black university? Anyway, he's like one of the all-time leading rushers at this school. He also graduated top of his class pre-med, and he was on his way to going to medical school, and he wants to be a psychiatrist. So he's going to medical school, but he decided he was going to put off medical school because he just wants to see if, he can still do the football thing. He just set some records there for historically black universities, and he's going to come here, and he's working out with the Chicago Bears, and that's an interesting story. So Hard Knocks is following this kid who's giving up his medical career to do this. They followed him for a couple of episodes, and we all fell in love with him because he's such a wonderful kid. He's smart. He's articulate. He seems to be the butt of a lot of jokes by his running backs coach, Chris Morgan, who calls him Eeyore, the donkey. He's like, look at you. Why are you always so sad? And he doesn't say much. And then he gets in the games. We saw him play. We got to see Ian Wheeler play a couple of times in the postseason. Or in the preseason. And he's terrifically fast. He is so fast. So Hard Knocks has gotten us all ginned up to sort of root for this kid to make the team. And it looked like he was going to make the team. And on the most recent issue of episode of Hard Knocks from earlier this week, they followed him closely again. His final preseason game, is he going to make the cut or not? And his mother was there, and they followed his mother around, and we got to see what his relationship is like with his mother, and we got to see what his relationship is like with his running backs coach, and we got to see how the coaches were so rooting for him. And then we see him in the game, and he goes into the game, and he breaks off a couple of big runs. He looks freaking amazing. And it's like, what a great way to wrap this story that we've been watching now for 3 episodes. We're going to see Ian Wheeler make the team. Oh my God, he's going to make the team. And then they're cutting to his mom in the stands, and his mom is texting with family, and they're like, did you see our baby run? It's all wonderful. And then he blows out his ACL. Blows out his ACL on what appeared to be an off-tackle dive. I mean, it went for like 1 yard, It was a nothing play, and he didn't get off, and he comes walking off the field under his own power, which is great, but he's limping, and he's hurt, and the coaches are like, what's up? What's up? You okay? And he's like, no, I am not okay. Like, you could tell he's like, nope, I am not okay. And he sits down on the bench, and then they cut to the mom. There's an HBO camera with the mom up there in the stands, and she's fucking freaking out. Because, again, talk about being as invested in your son's journey as old mom is, and she knows what this is. So, turns out he tore his ACL. He's done. Now, we'll get into like whether he made the team and all that kind of stuff, but at any rate, he ain't going to play football. His ACL is blown out in the game. HBO did one of the most beautiful, I'm not going to say artistic because they didn't, it was just a natural, authentic moment. They followed the mom, because remember there was a camera with the mom. They followed the mom down to the locker room. And when Ian Wheeler came out of the locker room after learning that this dream that we've been watching for at least 3 episodes, and it certainly probably goes much further back with mom and him, he comes out of the locker room and HBO just decide no production, no sad music, no, this will be the end of the road for Ian Wheeler. No bullshit narration. They just ran it raw. And it went on for like 3.5 minutes or something. Silence. Just the camera trained on mother and son. It was one of the most beautiful things. So, of course, a lot of the broken people, the asshole class, the same people who were probably like, that kid sucks for liking his dad. The asshole class, they took to the Twitters and they're like, that was stupid. That was dumb. That's why he'll never make it in this league. He's not mentally tough. What do you mean he loves his mom? You can't be an NFL player and fucking love your mom. All the things they said about Caleb Williams, too. All you broken people who don't process natural human emotion like the rest of us. So I want to show this to you. So this is it. We've got it here. Check this out. It's from Hard Knocks this week. This is the Ian Wheeler and his mom, and it's fucking beautiful.
Thank you for coming. I had to see it. So it's supposed to be.
How long?
Guys, fine.
Always.
Well, I got you covered. And I'm going to use that as basic. So proud of you. So proud of you.
Do you want me? Thank you.
He is outstanding. We love him. You did a great job with him.
Thank you.
Who's crying? Who's cutting onions in here? Not me. That's fucking beautiful. That was fucking beautiful. My friend who I watch Hard Knocks with, well, I don't watch it with him, but he watches it where he lives in Chicago. He texted me right after that. He said, call your mom. I'm like, yeah, right? We all want to call our moms now. That was fucking beautiful. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. It's going to do it for as far as the... I don't need these. I do want to talk to you about something you can watch this weekend. Something that I ended up watching last night that I'll talk a little bit about it here. If you're looking for an interesting documentary, who likes documentaries? No, don't worry. It's not about, the splitting of the atom or something, Einstein's theory of relativity. No, it's about Gary Coleman. Gary Coleman. There's a new documentary on Peacock. It's an hour and a half. It's a full movie. It's an hour and a half documentary about the life of Gary Coleman. What you talk about, Pugs? And it's excellent. It is excellent. It's on Peacock. I guess it debuted yesterday. I didn't intend to watch the Gary Coleman documentary last night. I put it on. I was like, all right, I'll check this out for a couple of minutes. I was just gonna say, I'm like, this will be something I'll watch over the weekend. And like within 15 minutes, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm watching it tonight. I guess I'm not gonna stop watching it because I'm kind of interested in this. Gary Coleman, for those who don't know, and how could you not? He was a major television star. Around, I don't know, I'd say between like 78 and 88. Again, he was the biggest star on TV. He was the star of Different Strokes. And it's the story about his life. And it's the story about what it was like being Gary Coleman. And man, it wasn't great being Gary Coleman. And let me tell you something else. Gary Coleman died in 2009. Is it 2009? Maybe. I don't know. Gary Coleman died in 2009. He was only 42 years old. He died after falling in his home. He fell in his home. He hit his head. He bled out. And then because of some other medical situations that he have, like he doesn't have a kidney. Do you know Gary Coleman didn't have a kidney? Gary Coleman didn't have a kidney. He had to go have dialysis 3 times for 4 hours every day, or every visit. 3 times a week for 4 hours. He had to sit and get all of his blood cleaned at a hospital, even when he's Gary freaking Coleman. Like 1985, Gary Coleman is still having his life of fame and being the most famous person on the planet, basically. He's having that interrupted 3 times a week because he's got to go sit in the hospital and have his blood cleaned. That's why he was so short and he was stunted. His growth was stunted. Anyway, it's really an amazing documentary about all the shit that dude went through. He went through a lot. I mean, obviously he went through a lot physically with the medical condition and all that stuff. But his parents, his dad seems like a real asshole and his mom seems lovely. That's my takeaway from watching it. But here's what I'm going to say. Gary Coleman was murdered. That's my takeaway. That's my takeaway from the Gary Coleman documentary. Isn't some newfound respect for the man. It isn't some new appreciation for his dramatic, No, it's that he was fucking murdered. Gary Coleman was murdered by his wife or his ex-wife or whatever you want to call it. You got to see this documentary. Report back on Monday. You tell me I'm wrong. And it's not like I'm just being silly, like, oh, that's what he took from it. No, you start to realize, like in the last 45 minutes, that the whole purpose of this documentary is to make it look like the wife killed him. And I think they're right. I think Gary Coleman's wife murdered him. She was awful. And by the way, she's in the video. It's in the documentary. It's not like, oh, I suppose it's just people talking shit about her. No, she willingly participated in the documentary about Gary Coleman, probably thinking this will be a good opportunity to make myself look good. What she didn't know was that everybody else in Gary Coleman's life is also in the documentary talking about what a fucking horrible grifter she is. And all of the shit, like they did a really good job of like having, like Gary Coleman's friend would be like, yeah, she used to steal money and she used to steal watches and all that stuff. And they'd go and they'd tell some terrible story about her, about how she was just using Gary for whatever money he had. And then they'd cut to her and she'd be like, I just did nothing but love him. I gave up my life for Gary. And then they go to another person and you hear this horrible story. And the stories are one thing, right? The stories are something you can be like, well, Gary Coleman, maybe there was money. Maybe all these friends wanted stuff that she got or whatever. I don't know. So stories are stories. People are flawed. People don't always tell the truth. They got the 911 call. Guess who called 911 when Gary fell and hit his head? That's right, his wife, who was there. And it was a 911 call for a couple of minutes. And you get to hear her talking about her dead husband, or about to be dead husband, on the floor. She's talking to the 911 operator. And if you don't think she killed him after hearing her conversation with the 911, whoa. I don't want to ruin it for you. You're going to want to see this. There's a lot of tape here. There's a lot of her talking to the 911 officer. But I'll just leave you with this. At one point, the 911 officer says, you need to stop the bleeding. Can you put a compress on the back of his head and make sure that the blood begins to clot? That was the 911 operator giving her instructions to stabilize him while the emergency crews are on their way. Do you know what she said to the 911 operator? No, I won't do that. There's too much blood. It's gross. I just can't. With that, I just can't. She was being given instructions by the 911 operator on how to save his life, and she wouldn't. She said, I gag really easily. She was apparently not even there. Like, he was laying on the floor downstairs, and she was up in the bedroom going, I can't even with that. There's too much blood. You guys are going to want to get here soon because he's probably going to die. Anyway, it is an incredibly interesting documentary, especially if you grew up looking at Gary Coleman and going, I wonder what that dude's story is. Holy shit. It's I think it's called Gary. I think it's just called Gary. And if you have Peacock, it's front and center. Like when you go to Peacock, that's how I saw it, because I went to Peacock last night and boom, the first thing was new Gary. It's very interesting. He seemed like a complicated guy. I met Gary Coleman once. That's the other thing that's interesting about this. I met Gary Coleman. I used to produce a late night talk show in the 1990s, the Eddie Schwartz Show in Chicago. Back when you could do late night talk. Oh my God, I would love to do a late night talk show. A live and local late night talk show. I'll do it for like McDonald's money. And by that I mean minimum wage. Go ahead, I'll do it. Just let me promote this. I'll do it. That'd be great. So I used to produce a late night talk show in Chicago, and Gary Coleman was a guest that we booked. And this was in the 90s when you could get Gary Coleman. And I remember Gary Coleman showed up, and he was fine. I don't have any real memory other than he was a pretty big star for me as a kid. So I remember thinking, wow, this is pretty big. He's pretty important. He's Gary fucking Coleman. But no problems. I don't have any stories of, Gary Coleman was an asshole, like with Gallagher or some other people. No, Gary Coleman, he seemed fine. Here was my takeaway from Gary Coleman, and it was mind blowing. And I told this story a lot. Gary Coleman brought a friend to this interview, and his friend was named Dion, and Dion was super gay, he was like the blackjack from Will and Grace. I mean, he was like super gay. And they seemed really close. They seemed like they were really close friends. And I remember making a mental note. Gary Coleman's gay. I didn't know that. I did not know that Gary Coleman was gay. Anyway, that's been sort of the mental note that I had on Gary Coleman since 1997. He's gay. He's gay. This movie the documentary doesn't confirm that, but it also we see Dion, Dion's all over this documentary. And by the way, Dion, just because he's gay, it doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Dion seems to be the most ardently dedicated advocate for Gary in this documentary. Dion seems like a good dude, but he's gay. I mean, he's a gay dude. That's all. Whatever. Make a big thing about it if you want. But he was Gary Coleman's best friend, and he would become his business manager. And I met him. I met him on the night that Gary came to do the Eddie Schwartz Show. And I remember thinking, I think Gary Coleman's gay. I remember thinking that. Gary Coleman's dad thought so as well. There's actually a moment in the documentary where Gary Coleman's dad is talking about Gary's relationship with Dion. And Gary Coleman's dad flat out goes, if I ever hear that you've done anything to him or with him, I am going, it's like, what does that mean? What are you talking about? Anyway, it was just weird. It's a good documentary. It's called Gary. It's on Peacock. It's the story of Gary Coleman. There you go. That's something for you to watch this weekend. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you back here on Monday. I know Monday's Labor Day. I'm expecting to do a show. Are you expecting to hear one?